Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this amazing Star Wars prequels discussion where we, and by we, I mean me and Kyle Entertainment.
Now, wasn't that just very dramatic, everybody?
Yes.
Now, I'm so down for today, EliteAri, because we have to talk about Star Wars.
That is true. So I guess as a recap, what did you think about the original trilogy?
I love Star Wars. That was my great Mr. Plinkett impression. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like Star Wars, EliteAri. I have notes about that. Can you believe it?
That is true. Well, I don't know what they really think about Star Wars, but I have seen The Phantom Menace specifically. I have seen that Plinkett's review for it.
And I rewatched it yesterday, I think, or the day before. So it's terrific. There's not much to say about that, but
yes, but I'm sure it'll come up.
Thanks for bringing it up, EliteAri.
Even I have a particular note on that, which we'll get through, but
Sagan's really ruffled EliteAri's feathers all these years. You know, he's mentioned that to me already.
I have to say, just as a context thing, I think I do remember liking that. And I think I've warmed up to the prequels a lot over time. As, you know, nostalgia has come in and I've just liked the series just so much more and everything. I'm a big fanboy and everything now. Anyway, for context, I've seen this stuff already. I have consumed basically all the prequel-related material that exists out there, except for maybe the games, I guess. And I love the prequels. The prequels are the best part of Star Wars for me. The Force Awakens is pretty
so far.
So far, I guess. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll realize
season 2 is coming, EliteAri.
No, it got cancelled. It's not coming.
Oh,
I wish it was coming.
We'll get to Acolyte one of these days, EliteAri.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
The point in this preamble is that I've never actually seen these movies before. I've seen all the commentary, all the slander. And one time I tried to parrot to you on a video what the whole plot was for these. And I think I even did it at the end of the last video. I don't remember what I said in either of them, but I bet I was right.
I think you were pretty close, but you mixed up 2 and 3 quite a lot.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, so Kyle, go ahead. What did you think about the Star Wars prequels?
Oh, we're already doing it?
Yeah, I want to know. I'm so curious.
I do have general points at the top here. Then I have Miller the Killer's take. I even got a Discord screenshot. Look, don't look, but look.
Okay.
And we got Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. I remember the names. So I watched these all so long ago, probably a week ago. EliteAri was slacking. He's a loser. Then, I guess this is like not a preamble, but a pre-warning. So the first 2 movies, my viewing experience of them, regardless of the movie, was terrible because I was trying not to fall asleep in both of them.
God. Okay.
And not because of the movie. And for one of them, I did fall asleep and did it 2 sessions. Now, EliteAri thinks this is fine. He watches movies in parts all the time. I think it's disgusting. I did also do this for Return of the Jedi. I don't remember if I said that, but I did watch that in 3 different bits.
I love that. Okay. I don't like watching stuff sleepy, though. Oh, my God.
It was miserable. With Attack of the Clones specifically, I was watching 15 minutes, and I'm like, all right, 5 more minutes, the end of this scene, then I'll go to sleep, and then it'll be good. I had given up. I was like, okay, I'll just watch it in 2 sessions. Now, my fear in that is always that you can't really comment on the pacing or whatever, and that's a lot of movies sometimes. Some movies are only good because of the pacing. And if you fuck that up by doing multiple sessions or whatever, then, how could I ever morally comment on these movies? But what I'm learning right now is I don't remember which one really was which, so I guess it doesn't matter at all. So not as in the movies. I haven't commented on which experience was which. I don't remember which one I watched. I'm pretty sure I got through Attack of the Clones in one sitting. I was just so excited for each scene, I just couldn't go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I had very terrible viewing experience for these. This does carry over into Karanokio Kai, but we'll talk about that in a different view. That preamble out of the way. Where to start?
There's 3 movies.
There's 3 movies, but they're all in the same way that the original trilogy is very much one. Well, they're not one cohesive unit, either of them. But the things I have to say are very broad on all of them. I think because I did my letterbox things again while you weren't looking, EliteAri, I can't do it beforehand because EliteAri might check it or somebody might spoil it.
Yep.
I think now. Can you remember what I did for the first 3?
I think you just gave 4 out of 5. All of them, right?
For all of them.
Yeah.
I've done a similar thing today. They've all gotten the same rating. What rating do you think that is?
I mean, it can't. There's no way it's.
What if it's 4?
Okay, I was gonna say, there's no way it's 5. Obviously, there's no way. I feel like it's impossibly unlikely that it's 4. And I feel like you probably wouldn't go with 3 because they're not all I feel like you'd have strong opinions on it one way or the other. I don't know.
So you think it could be 1 or 2?
I don't think 1. I think it'll be. I think
3.5 it was, EliteAri.
Okay, that's not bad. Okay.
I considered 4, and then I was like, they're not as good as the original. But some of them, some parts,
Yep.
it's not it's just different. This is where we get to point number one here, EliteAri. These movies have a fundamental flaw, that being that they are prequels. We hate prequels here. Actually, I don't know. What other prequels have I seen? Monsters University. I think that one's okay. The problem with prequels, EliteAri, especially ones that are done way later, is that you sort of get invested in the prequel, but they're cut by the original movies. So, a big example of this, because I guess we're jumping everywhere. Like, the payoff to Obi-Wan and Anakin in A New Hope sucks.
Yes.
And so when the whole movie trilogy is building this up, and then you get to the end, but it's not really a climax, and then it's like, oh, this old man that isn't even this Obi-Wan, and that Darth Vader dude that isn't even this Anakin. It feels like it's just fucked. It's like, you may as well have redone episode 4 3 years after he did this one. It should have made everybody very angry.
Which brings us to the Obi-Wan TV show, where you have the actors coming in the sequel to the original trilogy.
I feel like that'll just be worse. It'll be even more cucked by what they have to, like, the continuity is the bad thing. So the point, the general point here is, like, it would have been better if, like, he actually did episode 1 first. And obviously episode 1 didn't exist as a concept when he made episode 4. He didn't even call it episode 4 earlier.
So true.
He called it the Great Star Wars. So I think a lot of the bad things about these movies are that they have to connect, and it sort of undermines the movies at points. Because everything, like, retconning issues are a result of that, because you're like, oh, it didn't fit, so now I feel bad. And there's, like, the tone not really being the same does annoy me a little bit. I think you even pre-warned me about that last time. You're like, all 3 of the trilogies have very different vibes or whatever, because we were talking about vibes a lot last time. The 3 movies do have their own vibe. I'll say that.
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah, it just feels like, because half the time you're like, this is fucking Obi-Wan. What the fuck is this idiot? And then half the time you're like, oh, that was actually pretty good. But, like, he just ends up sitting on a planet and then he dies boring, and there's payoff and stuff like that. Even because there's, like, because I guess a counterexample of this is, like, Berserk, because if you think about, like, the flash forward, or the flashback rather, it's sort of the same thing. Because in Berserk, it's like, oh, it's like the phrase always uses, like, it's like a doom clock, you know? You're like, oh, Guts and Casca, we love them. But then it's like, oh, we know how this kind of has to end. But that one's like a tragedy to that. And then there's obviously the subversion. She doesn't die. Spoilers for Berserk, I guess. Kill yourself. But for this, there's no subversion, I guess, because it is just different things, and it's more fleshed out what's happening in the future. But I feel like I did have that same, like, feeling when I watched Monsters University, and it's like the little things are like, oh, it would be cool if they, like, follow this, because I think Randall, do you know anything about Monsters Inc.?
I remember Randall. I've seen the first one.
Okay, well, I think Randall and Mike are friends in Monsters University. This could be completely wrong, because I haven't seen Monsters University in a while. I do plan on watching it soon, because I did just rewatch Monsters Inc. 5 stars, better than these shitty movies, I'll tell you what. Like, him and the bad guy from the first one were, like, nerdy friends, and Sully is, like, the big Chad guy. And then it's like, oh, it would have been cool, like, but, like, because Monsters Inc. was made all the way back in the day, they don't have any, like, they don't hint at any friendship or anything like that. Sure. It's like, oh, it's just like the building up something to not pay it off. And then that happens a lot in these movies, where it's like, Darth Vader, like, the Padme stuff is also like that. It's like, oh, even if you like that relationship, which, you know, we haven't talked about it yet. Like,
she's never once mentioned.
No, and I was going to ask you, like, there is a vague chance in my head that at some point Vader's like, your mother was the beautifulest girl in the world, as he's done. Well, I don't remember exactly what he says.
Yeah, there is one line by, I think it's, is it Luke or Leia? Someone's like,
one of them say they remember it.
Yeah,
and obviously that shouldn't work, because they were infants when she died.
Luke cares.
I kind of care. But yeah, it's like, all these little things, and even, like, the world and stuff, and especially, like, the other Jedi, where it's like, oh, this could be, like, cool, but they're all fucking dead. Doesn't matter. Sure. Though I guess that's more vague, because they're like, you don't have confirmation that all of them are dead, though most of the would be interesting ones that you do see die. So I guess it's just Mace Windu. And the guy with the long head that there was the controversy about. Oh, yeah. They got his goddamn birthday wrong. Can you believe it?
Unbelievable, yeah. Disney ruined Star Wars, right?
What's his name? It's a very funny name.
Oh no.
Penis Marsma.
No, it's oh my god, I'm not remembering. Something Yarrow Poof or something, right? Or
no, it's not. Doesn't end with poo. Like peanut butter.
Yadi Mundi.
That's the one.
Okay.
What a dumbass name. for a dumbass end. So I think that's the first point of this first note here, is the fundamental flaw is that they are prequels that led to movies that don't have a payoff that fits. Maybe he should have remade the original trilogy right after this, Linnell. Then it would have been more satisfying. But also, maybe the payoff is just the memory. Oh, this is kind of an interesting point. It's kind of contradicts what I just said. But it's like, you're not supposed to pay attention to movies, EliteAri. So if you've just seen the original Star Wars like one time when you're a little fella in 1977, and then you get to 1999 or wherever the first one comes out, or the last one, 2005, that is. And you just watch them once, like in your head, it's not going to contradict stuff because you don't remember all the little details. And at the end when they're like posing and the fucking dumb sons are over there and you're like, oh, that's Luke Skywalker. And you would be left with this like, oh... And maybe it would fit then. This is a more general discussion, especially online. It's so focused on the paying attention constantly crowd of like, we critique this all the time and we talk about movies all the time. So chronology and continuity all like matter to us. But realistically, in a wider and we'll attack movies like these movies don't respect your intelligence. Can you believe it? They just feel the need to reiterate things. They show you, they don't tell you, or they tell you, they don't show you. And it's very obvious that this is like 15% of the audience at most, if generally. It's like, well, this 85% is who's actually going to make us money. So there's no incentive really to make that type of movie. So that would fit into this sort of thing. And if George Lucas is like, fuck the critics, whatever, I'm just making the movie. It's for the everyday man, you know? They go to work, they don't care about Star Wars, they just want to spend 2 hours watching a movie. Well, is it such a bad thing? That's just sort of a media criticism thing about like, it probably works if you don't pay too much attention. But that's like the biggest insult to this group of crowd who is like us and the people who watch us. But it's like, you got to think outside of that maybe.
So I think personally, just to talk about all this prequel stuff, there is some stuff to say meta-wise, which is that, I guess from my perspective, the prequels came first. Like I watched them first. They are my canon. I watched the whole prequel trilogy, and then I was like, oh, there's like those old movies. Let me go watch them. And they were like different. And I was like, oh, they don't match like my canon. You know, like my original trilogy, my prequels.
It is arbitrary wherever you. Yeah. Well, after the fact,
like I guess you're using this lack of continuity to as a critique of the prequels. I would use it for a critique of like the sequels, I guess, even though it makes no sense because you couldn't have done it otherwise. But I think also another thing to say is that in the fandoms, like or the fandom of Star Wars, they are pitted against each other. Like there are prequel fans and there are original trilogy fans. I guess there's
a great blind wave in the middle. They love it all.
True, yeah, that is true. Yeah, and there are groups. That is probably a third group, like people who just love it all, even including the Disney.
We love the sequels here. That's what side I'm on.
Yeah, I don't actually know if there is like I mean, maybe we'll have to wait longer for like kids to grow up or something. But yeah, I don't think there is like a.
All the little girls, they love the Great Rey.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it's like they are competing, so it is interesting. I don't know how much of my analysis at all has anything to do with like the continuity or anything like that.
I think because most of my notes are just little things I noticed in the moment. This is kind of the only overall point I think I have. So a lot of mine might be that doesn't fit, loser.
Yeah. Okay.
My second point here is it's like I broke my pen.
That's okay.
I've probably been clicking it, and that's probably not very
mad at the prequels, right? Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, don't click it. Oh my god, they're gonna get so mad.
I think I've already been clicking it. I'll play with this little thing instead. My next note is about Jeremy Johns in Red Letter Media. I don't think we care about this too much. There's a funny video because Jeremy Johns, the famous YouTube reviewer, EliteAri knows.
Yep. I think everyone.
I had no idea if you actually knew, so this is good. He has like a 13-year-old video that's actually it's like somebody re-uploaded it because he privated it. And it's him. It's just like 2012 shitting on the prequel stuff. It's literally all the Red Letter Media talking points. It's really funny. And then he has one that he did like a few years ago where he's like, I found something to like, because it's like, oh, Disney Star Wars is so bad. I like the Phantom Menace now. And it's sort of like him saying everything he didn't say in the first one. So that's kind of funny. So there is like and you've kind of already touched on it, where there's sort of like a prequels, like, what do you call it? Recontextualization in the fandom. People sort of like the prequels now, rather than them just shitting on it forever.
Yeah. And then the talking point these days is like, at least George Lucas did something different in the prequels. You know, he wrote his own story instead of like a committed story by Disney or whatever. Yeah,
It's
true.
true. Though there was like moments where I was like, if this came out today, this would be the wokest thing of all time. I can't remember what it was, but there was like little moments where I was like, oh, it's kind of funny. Maybe the wokeness has been entrenched in Star Wars the whole time. That's very good.
I guess to say on this thing, I mean, I'm sure you have more, but for me, when I was watching the prequels now, there was a voice in my head that was like telling me like, oh my gosh, like whenever bad stuff would happen, like that people think is bad, I'm like, who is this voice I'm hearing? And I was like, oh, it must be like the Plinkett review thing, because that's the one I remember the most. And the one thing I remember from that is like Qui-Gon is a boring character. That's the one thing I remember from that, being like, obviously I don't agree with that. But the voice that was in my head this whole time was CinemaSins. I realized, I got to the Revenge of the Sith, and I'm like, oh, this is like all CinemaSins critique. Like all these little things all being pointed out to me. I'm like,
a lot of those Red Letter Media reviews are like CinemaSins type stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is, why didn't you run faster? Why are they holding their breath when they have the thing that can let them go underwater in the next scene? Can you believe it? Jar Jar, why is he a general at the end? God damn it, that doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
It's shit like that, and it's like, well, none of this matters. But
So yeah.
Oh, and just on YouTube, as I did watch the Kind of Funny guys kind of do their reviews. Like I skipped through them all. They absolutely hated these movies, and they were watching them in 2019. So that was very
Jesus. Okay.
They have not. Very funny. I think at the beginning of the Phantom Menace one, they react to the trailer for the third sequel movie, and they're all very excited for it. And Tim says he cried at the trailer, and I'm pretty sure they definitely hated that movie after the fact. So that's very fun. But anyway, fuck YouTubers. We're the only ones that matter.
Very true.
Oh, speaking of YouTubers, we got Miller the Killer's take, because I wasn't talking to him about it, EliteAri. I didn't break the rules, but I was quizzing him on things. And Miller the Killer, he's our viewer. There's the context. Shut the fuck up. I said, do you hate these prequels? And he said, very difficult question. I've seen every Star Wars movie at least 50 times as a kid. This was because he insinuated that he did hate them. So I was asking him. He said, Empire and Attack of the Clones are probably the ones I've watched the most, weirdly. But like, they're all entertaining, at least besides maybe Phantom Menace. What a drab movie. And like, most of the prequel characters sucked, but they don't anymore because I watched Clone Wars. And then I asked him to rank them, and I think he said he'd give them a 6, a 7, and an 8, or something like that. So crazy. Phantom Menace probably was the worst one, EliteAri, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess I should just to say, because I haven't given any of my thoughts. I kind of have a similar thing to Miller. I don't know if this is exactly what he was saying, but these movies they're like facts in my mind. Like they exist, and there's like it feels so impossible to like have a new subjective view of them, because I'm like, I've seen them so many times, and I know like every scene, like in order almost. That nothing's surprising, nothing. It's like, oh, I noticed this for the first time, and it's all like, It's like when you listen to a song again, and it's like you're just reciting the lyrics because you know the lyrics. It's like the exact same idea.
But that's the best time to listen to a song.
Yeah, maybe, I guess, but not. I don't think for this movie. I think it's just like these movies. They're just, I'm like, they just exist in my mind. I've seen them so many times that, yeah, I guess. I think that Miller had something else I wanted to say, but yeah, I guess for me, generally, my experience watching these movies, it was a lot more engaging like than the original trilogy. I was constantly watching the original trilogy. I was like, oh, this is good. Like, how long have I got left? Oh, I got to like watch like an hour and a half more. Oh my God, that's going to take a while. We should take a pause or break or something. But
these ones are fucking longer, I'll tell you that.
These are longer, but to me, they didn't feel long at all. Like, I think I probably watched all of them in one sitting from memory. But I would have if not for any interruptions or anything. Like, I found them very engaging. The only exception is exactly what Miller said, the Phantom Menace, but only specifically the pod racing scene. Unbelievably boring. Like, I thought, okay, maybe now that I'm watching the prequels again as I'm older and wiser, and I've appreciated.
That's the thing you're supposed to like when you're a dumb little kid.
I don't know, because everyone talks about the VFX and the sound effects, and it's like, oh, it's so cool. Oh my God. But it was just boring. I don't know.
There's also the video game pod racing thing that people like, right?
Yeah, which I have not played too. Yeah.
Well, you weren't playing the N64 back in the day?
No, the only game the main game I played was the Lego Star Wars games, of course. But,
disgusting.
Yeah, they were great. But yeah, so I have a few overall thoughts. That's the first one, more engaging. The second, and I'm curious what you think about this.
Hold on, just quickly.
Go ahead.
Qui-Gon Jinn, not boring at all. I like that guy.
Oh, okay.
Like, maybe top 2 of the whole thing. Like, he's just a nice guy. He's saying fuck you to the Jedi all the time. That was pretty epic. Fuck these Jedi.
Yep. There's one, because we're probably going to forget. One thing I really liked about him is his interaction with young Anakin in Phantom Menace. Yeah. Where he's like, is that your lightsaber or something? And it's like, oh, maybe I killed a Jedi. And he's like, and Anakin's like, oh, no one can kill a Jedi. And he's like, oh, if only that were true or something. Like, oh, it's like a small little character thing for Qui-Gon. He's like, what he cares about is like friends.
His friends are fucking dead.
So Qui-Gon's got little character moments like that, which I like.
Oh, that was the second thing. You were about to bring it up.
About Qui-Gon?
No.
Oh, no.
I guess the only other overall thing is that the dialogue is really bad in parts, specifically the bad parts that everybody talks about with Anakin.
Sure.
Kid Anakin, good actor.
I don't agree with that.
He has like 2 lines that I thought were bad. The rest were completely fine. The Are You an Angel stuff, which is funny because it's all the romance stuff is even bad even in the first one. And there was another one. I'm Anakin and I am a person. That one was pretty bad. I'm a person. The rest of them are... True. The rest, I thought this kid is really good. I guess I have a... we'll talk about it later, actually. I have a dot point then.
I'd say I disagree. I think pretty much every one of his lines was bad, but it's not like that bad to me. It's like, oh, it's like a bad kid actor bad, but like, I don't know. It's fine.
I thought it was good. I thought he was endearing. I really liked it. I was invested in the pod race scene. It did get boring because it went on forever. But I was like, oh my God, I want the little Anakin to win. I love this little fella. He's just so cute. He's going to win.
There probably is some investment where it's like, if you don't know what's happening, like who's going to win? I'm like, well, Anakin wins. Yeah.
There was a thing because I expected that to be the last scene of the movie because it is the scene everybody talks about. But then I did remember, oh, he blows up the thingy at the end, which is a Red Letter Media thing about hating that. But I also thought that was cool. So I was like, I like this little fella. He can do everything. He's a god, literally, maybe.
Okay, well, back to the overall stuff. You were saying about dialogue. Let me say, I don't know what I think about the dialogue. I think that there's moments where I'm like, I actually love this type of dialogue. Like, it's very different. Like, you never see movies like this. At least maybe in a bunch of bad movies or something, they all speak like this. I have no idea.
Stilted a little bit.
Yeah, it is. It's very stilted. It's very formal at times.
Do you think it sounds anything like The Crucible? Because is it just old?
Oh, I don't. Maybe. I feel the delivery is different.
It definitely is, because The Crucible's like a 5
The dialogue might be the same if you like write it down, maybe.
Because it's kind of like play.
Yeah, a common talking point in defense of Attack of the Clones is that the romance stuff is written to be Shakespearean in dialogue and stuff, and George had that in mind, and
but like, you kind of,
Just to say, there's 2 things of dialogue which I'm not sure what you're going to think about. I guess it's not really dialogue, actually. It might be mixed with performance, but I love in The Phantom Menace, I like Queen Amidala's way of acting and her dialogue there.
It's great. I like her voice too. That was something the kind of funny guy shit on relentlessly, and I was mad. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we can agree on that. And secondly, you're almost certainly going to disagree on this. I love the love dialogue in episode 2. It's so good. I love it. I love every little thing when they're alone in that little palace, or the little room they're in. It's done. They're talking to each other like all formally and stuff. I'm like, this is great. I love this.
It's like easily some of the worst stuff.
Oh, great. Okay.
It's terrible.
I love it. So
I think it's worse than Revenge of the Sith, but that's okay.
You know what? I agree with that. Because Attack of the Clones is so good in the love stuff. Anyway. That's the dialogue stuff. And
that is something Miller did say in a different thing that I didn't screenshot. He's like, oh, Attack of the Clones would be the best one if it would have the best pacing if they didn't cut to the love scenes in there. So
unbelievable, yeah. I think
there was literally a love scene, right? That they're tumbling and like she's on top of him in like the grasses.
That is true.
So that's pretty funny.
Yep, best scene in the movie. Well, no, there's a lot of good scenes in that movie, but I do like the love stuff. Anyway, we'll get to it. The next note is to say, this is what I was going to say before about my overall thoughts. The VFX are great. Nothing took me out, I have to say. You know, I was like, oh, maybe like in retrospect, I think they're better than they are. But no, I was watching it and I'm like, this is great. Like every now and then, maybe there'll be like a thing. But I think stuff took me out more in the original trilogy when they would cut like the new stuff he added or whatever, and the stop motion. Yeah, especially the stop motion stuff.
The CG is worse than the special editions. Like them fighting on the grass in the first movie, the grass looks terrible.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Who's fighting on the grass?
The droids and the...
Oh, okay.
The jaws.
I don't even think the grass looks terrible.
Oh, it looks so terrible.
I think it is the unrealistic, like, setting or whatever. It just looks jarring.
Well, people say that, like, in Bright, it looks bad, right? CGI looks bad in Bright, and it's better if you mask it in Dark. I hear that all the time. And that's what I thought was going on there. Mm-hmm. The CGI, I guess it was probably bad in parts, but it really didn't affect my viewing experience at all, I don't think. I'm sure there are other moments where but yeah, like the creatures, I guess the creatures they fit more in this one, so they don't look as terrible as like when there's the insert shots in the special editions or whatever, because they did look terrible. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, CG wasn't a big thing.
That's perfect. Okay, my last overall thought note is, what do you think about the music? Anything
The funny thing is, because obviously there's the Duel of the Fates one or whatever, and I was waiting for it at the end of the Phantom Menace, and I'm like, I get to the end, and I'm like, oh, I guess they just didn't play it. Now, obviously, now I know they played it. I still don't know what it sounds like.
Oh,
and they played it in Revenge of the Sith, and I was like,
well, kind of. But
I'm assuming, but yeah. So I'm sure
the double-bladed lightsaber, the theme.
there was a music that was going on. You know, I never noticed the music, and you know, I'm pretty sure if you would play like the YouTube video of it, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, I've heard this in like YouTube videos. It wouldn't recall anything from the movies though.
Sure. It's even like
there was song cues that I did think were cool.
What do you mean?
I don't remember any of them, but I remember thinking at point, I'm like, oh, the music.
To say about the Phantom Menace, one thing I know from I think Star Wars Oxygen, which is like a podcast series, the Duel of the Fates is like seeded throughout the Phantom Menace, where they have like the I don't know what it is, it's like Latin or something. The words they use, like Cora Ruffle.
Oh, is the chanting on Duel of the Fates? Because I remember noticing chanting.
Yeah, there is.
And
it's like it's seeded throughout the movie. Every time you see like Darth Maul and whenever stuff is happening, and then it like climaxes at the end, and you actually hear the actual song, and it's like, oh, this is like really cool.
This
yeah.
To pivot from the music, this Darth Maul guy is the biggest disappointment of my life.
All right,
he's supposed to be so cool, and then he's a short guy, and then he has like two lines, and he doesn't sound cool. And
he doesn't sound cool?
No, he sounded like a guy, and I was expecting him to be like British and dramatic or something. He was just some guy. He was no great Count Dooku, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's because you haven't seen the Clone Wars TV series. He has an amazing voice, best voice ever, best actor ever. It's
and, you know, in the great Solo movie, he's gonna come back. It's gonna be great.
One day, yeah.
But yeah, Darth Maul is not very exciting. Even the dumb coughing robot was bad.
But he looks cool.
His lightsaber's cool. He does. He looks like the devil. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
That is one of my notes. We've got the Jesus and the devil thing going on, but then the devil just dies at the end now. So that wasn't really going anywhere.
Yep. But he took someone out in the process. But
that was bad too. He stabbed him out of nowhere. I was like, this is the great Qui-Gon. Why is he dying like this? This is terrible.
It's such a tragedy.
This is actually a thing because this is obviously an intentional thing where. And we talked about this in the first one too, jumping everywhere. The quick cuts after things. Like, there was a lot of things that just, like, happened. And it was like, this should have been, like, dramatic or something. But it wasn't. Like, Qui-Gon getting stabbed is just, like, a fight and my eyes are glazing over. Yeah. And there's, like, a noise and, like, and he got fucking stabbed. And I was like, huh? My favorite guy, he's dead. Now I gotta hang out with shitty Obi-Wan. And then Obi-Wan just beats him. Well, now.
Yep.
Anyway.
After an intense fight.
Not really.
No, it was intense. He broke.
I guess if you're talking about the fighting or whatever, which is like, I was coming into this, I was completely unsure whether or not I'd think it was lame as hell or if it was cool. I think it was just whatever, I guess.
It was better than the original, surely.
Well, the Obi-Wan one is bad in the original. The other two are like fine.
So you think it's like a similar level to that? Oh my goodness.
Well, they're obviously very different, but my quality of caring is very similar. There were some good ones like, and this one I actually don't like in like as a concept to happen. But when Yoda is like getting the shit thrown at him by Palpatine, that's pretty cool.
True.
But then they just fight with lightsabers afterwards, so that's lame.
Yep.
When I guess we're going over it. When Count Dooku used the Force lightning in Part 2, that was one of the only soy moments. I'm like, he can do it too. This is crazy.
Even you. And
there was some of them. Oh, he was almost so cool, the great Count Dooku. Then he was boring.
Clone Wars is so cool.
That terrible fucking Revenge of the Sith opening. Anyway, it wasn't terrible. Just that part was terrible. There were other things too. There were little soy moments that were cool. There were some very anti-soy moments where I was supposed to be soying and I thought it was terrible.
Yep.
Why the fuck are R2-D2 and C-3PO in this shit?
Because it's funny.
So bad.
It's funny, that's why.
R2-D2 in the original, he's so cool because he's like the only reason they survive anything. In this, he doesn't do anything. He's just there.
What do you mean he saves them in episode 1? Their ship was going to get destroyed.
But it's never like a big, like it's not a dramatic scene where R2's like got to put his little dick in a thing like he does at the end of the third movie. He's just like there, and it's like, I guess you can get away with him being. Why does Obi-Wan pretend he doesn't know him? In episode 4?
He's not gonna care about a droid.
He's going. It's this guy's droid he's been hanging out with for 10 years. He absolutely should know R2-D2. And obviously I knew C-3PO's mind got wiped. It's cute that R2-D2 remembers and he doesn't do anything, but you'd think, again, it's like, he definitely should have had a moment at some point with Darth Vader, but obviously that wasn't the context of the original. So that's like, here's why we should have rewritten the old movies, get rid of them, do them again in 2006.
Yep.
But yeah, that was like the anti-soy thing where I was like, oh, these are around. Anakin making C-3PO is fine. Like, I know that pisses a lot of people off, but whatever. That doesn't matter really. But the R2 stuff was annoying.
That's kind of crazy. I don't know. He's just like, he's not in it much.
That's like the problem. Like R2D2, he fixes things, EliteAri. He wins these. The only reason we win these.
His best scene is probably the most like original trilogy scene like thing, which is in Revenge of the Sith at the beginning, where he's just like helping Obi-Wan and Anakin get through elevators and stuff. Does a really simple like that's generally, and then he'll go draw.
He sets them on fire.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
I know people hate his little flying things, right? That's like a thing. I feel like I've seen videos people shit on. Like it might be in a Red Letter Media video or in a CinemaSins video or just a cutout or somebody's like, R2D2 should be able to do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's very funny, but
yep. Okay. Any other things then overall?
We addressed Thoy.
Yep.
I'm sure there was other stuff. I guess we were talking about the fighting stuff and the dramatic stuff. And
what's your favorite fight?
Hold on. So there's first of all, Tyrone Magnus in a video builds up this part where Yoda fights in the second one, which I didn't know about until I watched that video like 6 months ago. So we could have had a cool reveal if I hadn't seen that. But he just shows up, he throws around, and he doesn't even win, and it's over in like 2 minutes. So this was not cool. So I guess it is Yoda versus Palpatine. It was like he was just throwing those Senate seats at him. That was cool. He was destroying the Senate, EliteAri. That's a metaphor.
How symbolic, yeah. Amazing, yeah.
There were, I guess, another one that ends abruptly is when the high ground actually just does win and he just swipes him like, oh.
That always bothered me as a kid. I was like,
people, yeah.
What does that mean? You have the high ground? How's it going to benefit you? It's like a jump in front of him. Like, wait, I don't know.
That's like a thing, you know, when you're fighting a war, if you shoot, I don't know who wins. I don't know how it works in a sword fight, but I guess that makes sense, but whatever. The kind of funny guys also talked about how long that fight scene was and how like boring it is.
No, it's my favorite fight. It's just
I was like, it was like 2 minutes, wasn't it?
No, it is a long fight. It is. I don't know how long it is, but there's so many parts. And
hold on, they fight on the lava, and then they on the little droids.
Well, first they fight inside.
Oh, they do fight inside, but I guess I was surprised by that because I've seen the lava bit, so I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yep.
Also, there's other like too sudden things, like the Anakin turn. I'm sure as people complain about that all the time. It's not so much the turn in the Mace Windu scene is fine, but like him killing the kids immediately afterwards, like there should be like 5 minutes. You know, he should have done something evil before that, before he killed the kids.
Yeah, sure. We can talk about this, I think, when we talk about that movie specifically. There'll be a lot.
What does the kid say? The kid is great.
Master Skywalker, there's too many of them. What are we going to do? Yeah. Is that a good actor, you think? You like
no, he was bad. But the great young Anakin was good. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
His name is Anakin and he's a person.
That is true. Well, the other way around, but yes, true.
No.
Okay, very good.
So they could go movie by movie now, I suppose.
All right, well, first up, we have The Phantom Menace, which is... I don't have an introduction. Is it just the first one? Who is The Phantom Menace? Go ahead. Who is it? It is, yes. Well done. You figured it out.
This movie... Because the criticism is like, Lamau trade dispute. Gay. Let's have Star Wars fights.
I heard that, yeah.
It's okay. There is a thing repeatedly in this where they're like talking about like democracy and stuff, and I'm like, this is Star Wars. We don't do democracy here. What the fuck is going on? Like it's a little like it feels like it's heavy-handed in a metaphor. Like when they talk about the Senate in the original, I'm thinking like Rome, right? And Rome's Senate is not a democracy. It's just like, oh, we're doing like, we're ancient Rome out here. And I was like, oh, that's probably what they're going to do in the prequel. But then no, they're like doing like modern American democracy. And it feels like almost a tonal clash. It's kind of fine. But it's just funny when like Padme has the line, which is another one that people make fun of all the time, where it's like, this is how liberty ends or whatever with cheering applause or something. Isn't that so relevant?
It is. It's amazing.
Donald Trump has so many fans. Can you believe it? But yeah, it's like weird because Palpatine's usually giving these speeches. It's like, oh, okay. It almost feels like a modern thing. Like, oh, we're in the 90s now. We have to be contemporary or something.
It probably is. I don't know much about the behind the scenes, like political stuff, but
the trade dispute thing is also tied into the thing that people sort of say about the Phantom Menace is that like it's almost just like a collection of scenes and it's a little weird. And I do get that vibe. It's like, who's the main character? And the surprising thing is it's probably Qui-Gon, which is like super interesting. Like Qui-Gon is just like, he's like that guy Obi-Wan trains with or something. That's like my mindset of that going in. Also, I had like misperceptions. Like I assumed young Anakin was like 3 in this. He couldn't like talk. He was like just doing like little thingies. And that like he literally bumblefucked his way up to blow up the thing at the end. It's like what I knew. I didn't realize he was in the pod racing thing or anything like that. I just heard about pod racing.
That's pretty crazy. Okay.
So when he was like an actual character and he was talking, I guess maybe that's why I like him, because I was surprised in that aspect. But I like that he was a character throughout, so he was kind of a same main character. Obi-Wan Kenobi is like a side character in this movie.
In the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of like that. And then obviously Padme is a pretty big character, and she's like
Queen Amidala.
good, yeah.
I think she's the highlight of the first movie for me. I think I liked like every scene with her basically.
Padme is yeah, it's good, but then in Revenge of the Sith, she's so bad that it's like
I agree. Yeah, I think it is like she's the best in this movie. She's okay in the next one as well. Yeah, in the third one, it's like
what is she doing in Attack of the Clones?
Like everything with Anakin, all the robots.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No, but she has the whole thing at the end. It's cool. There was a point where and I have a note about this, where I was like watching it, and I was like, oh, Padme is like cool, and then I was like, but she's no Princess Leia. And then I had the realization where I was like, EliteAri, that's Princess Leia's mom. And I was like, oh, that's so cute.
Yeah,
and so I liked it again. That was a soy Star Wars moment. I was like, oh my God, like mother, like daughter. This is so cute.
Yeah.
So I was like, and I didn't even like Leia that much last time. We were trying to figure out why I didn't. So yeah, I thought Padme was cool. Her and the great Qui-Gon, the greatest characters in Star Wars, EliteAri. What can I say? But yeah, at the end, she's just literally like pregnant and twirling her hair like a housewife. Yeah. And then she gets choked for 2 seconds and dies.
That's very true. Yep. And I think her dialogue is probably the worst in the third movie.
Well, yeah. Their love dialogue is the worst.
That's definitely not true. But yeah, okay.
In the third movie.
Oh, in the third movie, yes. Okay,
well, yeah.
True. Yeah, where she's like...
But Anakin's the problem.
No, Anakin is not the problem. Oh, God, there's so much to talk about. We can't get to Revenge of the Sith yet. We'll talk about that. Queen Amidala, that's why I have that.
Just fuck it.
Go ahead.
I was still, for whatever reason, like invested in their relationship. I was like, oh. I think, and I thought about this a lot, I was like, I think I just want... Like, I'm rooting for it from, like, Padme's perspective. Because obviously Anakin's really annoying. And I think I've figured, like, I've determined that that's, like, a good thing. And, like, oh, it's because he's Darth Vader.
Okay.
And that's why he's annoying, because we're supposed to not like him and something. No, that's probably not true, because you probably are supposed to like him tentatively in at least the second movie. I think I was just like, oh, I want to be happy for Padme. So I was like, oh, she's got her boyfriend. So she's going to be happy. So it's a very weird, like, because you would think the sort of the old school psychology behind movies is like, oh, the boys in the audience, they just want to be with the girl, you know? That's why she's so cool. Whereas kind of the opposite is what I'm saying here. Is like, oh, I enjoy being the audience cuck here, and she's got her cool boyfriend on the screen, and I'm happy for her.
Sure. I don't know what I can say to that. Yeah.
It's just a weird, like, the dialogue was bad, but it's not like the worst thing ever, because I still kind of cared, I guess.
Yeah, that's very surprising, I guess, to me. But I like that. I don't know about, is Anakin annoying? I guess he's in the second movie, he's like annoying in the way that like, it's not even
cringy,
annoying.
He's creepy, he's terrible.
Creepy is a good word. I don't know about annoying. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go with that.
He's like obviously overly childish.
That is very true, especially in the second movie. I think the third movie he's a very different, like he's grown up a lot.
He is just like the toxic, like abusive boyfriend in the third one.
Yeah, well, abusive.
Well, the abuse,
I
not
see what you
physically,
mean.
but obviously the end it's physical.
Yeah,
but.
He's like, I'm going to fix this. I'm in power.
No, and she's like doing the traditional like good girlfriend thing of like, don't shut me out and tell me. And you're like, fuck off, bitch. I've got demons here. Look how I got my problems. You're going to die.
Yes, very true. Okay.
The Phantom Menace.
Yes. So I have a list of characters. I want to see what you think about them, but I guess for some of these I already know. So Qui-Gon.
The greatest of all time.
You love him in life. Next up is Obi-Wan. You've spoken a little bit about him. He's not really that much in this.
He's
specifically in this movie is what.
Oh
yeah.
I'm not sticking to this movie.
All right, go ahead.
Because Obi-Wan is a journey. At the beginning, obviously, it's like impressive that he talks like that because he talks like the other guy.
Sure.
But obviously, like the positives of that are like, oh, well, he's not real. There is aspects where he's similar. The original Obi-Wan's just too bad.
Yeah, true.
Because he has the similar aspects of the original Obi-Wan's like kind of a little weird, and he's like, oh, he's very devoted to this Jedi nonsense, which is obviously the defining characteristics of Obi-Wan in these movies, and it is like annoying, and it's kind of trying to do the both sides a kind of bad thing. It's like he's such a rule follower, even if the rules are bad. He is good in the second too, is kind of what I'm building up to here.
Sure.
When he's like off on his independent adventure in the third one, it's like, oh, Obi-Wan, he's like the guy.
Wait, the second one?
The
No, you mean like
third one against the great General Grievous.
Okay. Yeah.
He's just on his planet and stuff, and his best buddy Cody turns on him. That's crazy.
So sad. Oh my god.
I hear he's in Clone Wars or something. So
Believe it or not, I don't think he actually is. I mean, he's in the
great
first,
kind of funny. Told me he was.
he's in the first scene of the first episode, and I think he shows up every.
They told me he had an episode or two.
Maybe he's barely in it though.
Yeah. But yeah, at that point, it's like, oh, the great Obi-Wan. And even when he is, like, when he's choking Padme or whatever, and Obi-Wan's doing his dumb pose on the thingy before he walks out.
That's my favorite scene.
I was like, oh, he's here. This is okay. Yep. We like Obi-Wan.
My favorite scene in all the prequels is definitely that, specifically the scene where Obi-Wan comes out of the ship and Padme and Anakin, I like that a lot. But we'll get to that.
So yeah, Obi-Wan gets there in the end. Time of the Clones is pretty cool too, because he's going to investigate and he's got this whole thingy.
Fighting Jango Fett.
Yeah, the great Jango Fett.
On Kamino, what a cool planet with like water. Oh my god, cool music as well. Oh my goodness.
Maybe.
Okay.
Hold on, just quickly. The greatest planet of all time is obviously the Empire planet. I love the decorations. I love how it looks.
Oh,
I love
Coruscant?
that great Coruscant. That's what it's called. I love the little rooms they live in. It's like the coolest rooms I've ever seen. It's very bright. There's windows everywhere.
Yep.
It's like small, and so it's just the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I
city.
just want to live there.
Yeah. You can just go to any big city, I guess. But not really, I guess. Yeah, you get the point. Anyway. Okay. Next up, Anakin.
He's the greatest in the Phantom Menace. I love the great Anakin. I was rooting for him. He's just a little slave to the evil Master Watto.
Okay, and we're back. We had a technical issue, okay?
He bruised something, and he just cut it out, and then it remounted the wire, and the wire fell out.
Yes. But go ahead, Kyle. What were you saying?
I'm fucking... No, about Obi-Wan being cool. I think you were doing your little character quiz thing.
Yeah, we're asking about Anakin.
Anakin in the second one, he... Oh, we were talking about the great planet. I dropped my pen thing. Keep going.
Oh, boy.
This is staying in.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I can do my jumps, and I got the microphone on me. I could do whatever I want.
Yep. What's the planet? What were we talking about? Which planet?
Kuro-san or something.
Yes, Coruscant is cool. Okay.
Wait, which one's that? Is it the planet one or the water one?
That's the planet one with the city.
Planet one.
Okay, anyway, let's just move on then.
What's the water one called?
Kamino.
Why they both start with "cuz"? Are you fucking stupid, George?
Very true.
The great Naboo.
Okay, next up.
You like that one.
Padme.
The greatest of all time.
Okay, that's all you have to say. I guess you're already go through it all.
Oh my god, we haven't talked about it. I saw what you were going next.
We're going to talk about Jar Jar Binks. What do you think about him?
Oh, he was fine. He's like kind of like the CGI. He literally is CGI. What a metaphor that is.
Yep, and he looks really good, I have to say. I think it holds up a little bit.
His eyes look weird, but I think that might be a character design thing.
It is weird, and also I think the eyeliner is a bit weird, because people sometimes are looking at him properly, at his eyes, but they're looking like at his eyes. The eyes are like up here, and it's like, wow, it's a bit weird. You know?
I saw some behind the scenes footage of the poor fella that the internet bullied for being Jar Jar.
Yes.
He was in the costume, and he had the eyes on top of him. Probably for them to look at his eyes. The great George, he's thought of everything. What a great director.
Very true.
He was fine. It was kind of funny. I guess he played a little racist, maybe. But
racist? What do you mean?
Well, it's like a black guy running around saying Misa instead of Master, which is kind of a black character. Slave.
Misa is like me. What do you mean? I mean,
yeah, I know, but it sounds similar, and they got a black guy doing it.
Sounds similar?
There's no. Do you think that's going to happen today?
Yeah, I don't think
you're an insane person.
I don't know what you're saying.
But they're not even the most racist one.
Wait. What is the context? How is that racist?
Because it sounds like a black slave saying Master. Yes. What do you think? Things that get cancelled are cancelled for good logical reasons?
I'd say most of the time, yeah.
It's too similar and it makes me uncomfortable, EliteAri, so we got to get rid of it.
Actually, it made you uncomfortable.
No, not really, but that would be the argument. It's like funny.
That didn't even cross my mind a single time. That's
the only thing I've ever heard about Jar Jar.
Oh, okay. No, I did. Okay, that's kind of crazy.
Well, the other racist thing is the Japanese guys in Phantom Menace, the bad guys.
Yeah, the actors. Yeah. I can understand that. But the Jar Jar thing's kind of crazy. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. The only thing I've ever heard about him is that he's annoying and childish. Like,
people say that too, but he's also secretly a Sith.
Yes, I've heard that. I read it.
I hadn't thought about that while watching the movie until this part, so that's obviously...
That's all I think about now when I see him. Like, and the Queen wouldn't approve, and his lips started moving at the same time. Like, oh my god, he's like making Padme say
crazy. Do something like that.
Yeah.
He's I feel like there was maybe some things that were like
He's clumsy, and the clumsiness leads to
No, the clumsiness is fine. So is the slapstick. If people don't like slapstick, it like tells me that they're just not smart. You know, they're tonal. You know how we have the plot bros, we've also got tone bros. You know, Puck shouldn't be breaking the fourth wall. Basically.
That is true. Yeah.
Puck shouldn't be making shitty Star Wars references in the second last thing before he dies. That's how he did this. I remember one time a little anecdote. I remember because he calls Isidro his Padawan all the time. And I had no idea what that meant. And I asked Miller that. And Miller was like, you really don't know anything about Star Wars, huh? I was like, yep, I don't. Padawan means protege. And that makes sense because, you know, the great Puck, he's always teaching Isidro how to fight and how to be a funny little guy. That was because of Jar Jar. No. Is that why we're talking about?
Yes.
Jar Jar. He said so. Oh, the slapstick. Slapstick is good, is what we're trying to say. So when he steps in the pooey EliteAri, that was a funny scene. You know, we're not making fun of that. Like silly red letter media.
Amazing.
There's other stuff like that.
Fine.
He says some of the things he says. I don't know if he said them first, but there's one of them where it was like, oh yeah, that's something. He said like upsy daisy or something, but it was not that one. There was another one there. It's like everybody just says that. And
yeah.
It's come from
you know what?
Jar Jar.
I think I agree with you. I don't remember exactly what it was.
It's one like before that. That's like the third one. The first one is like something.
Yeah.
It's googly moogly or something maybe.
No, that's not what I'm thinking of.
Jar Jar lines. So bring them up. Great Jar Jar quotes.
Oh no, I spate? I don't know what that means. Me see your humble servant. Mooey mooey, I love you. You sir pointed.
Mooey mooey might be the one I'm thinking of.
That's definitely what I'm thinking of. Gungans, Weasel Warriors, Maxi Big the Force. Okay. What yet? Monsters. Or Big Boo. You know what? Another. How rude? Do people say that?
How rude?
Yep. I don't know. Who knows?
The
I'm sure there's something.
But yeah, one of the ones I was like, does this come from Jar Jar Binks, the great Jar Jar? So yeah, I was. That was another thing coming in that I was very curious whether or not I would hate Jar Jar or when I would hate the love dialogue.
You know something I've always wondered? Oh, Squeeze Me?
That might be the one, yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine that coming from this. I don't know. But the thing that I always wondered, which I feel like so foolish for even saying this, because there's no way it came from Star Wars, but it's Qui-Gon saying, there's always a bigger fish. I'm like, is that a Star Wars thing, or is that like a...
You know, the crazy things like this, because I feel like I've told you this one time, you definitely have forgotten it though. In The Godfather Part 2, they say... keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
Okay.
And apparently it is like the reason people say
crazy.
That, which is crazy. Yeah. Now it does kind of come from like one of the Homer things, you know, the Odyssey or some shit, or some super old book, but it's differently phrased. And obviously it's in Greek or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. There's one
that's insane.
That is insane.
It's just like a thing people say, like there was a world before that and it wasn't too long ago.
Yeah. And some guy just directed it and made it. It's like, well, this is crazy.
Somebody wrote that.
There was one in the original trilogy, which is, and this, again, this can't be from Star Wars, but when Han says, I'll see you in hell, or whatever, I'm like, oh, is that a thing? I don't know.
I mean, it's a lesser thing, but I forgot that it even happened because we're going to do challenges later and I was just watching it. But Zendaya says, like, Art says to her, I love you, and she says, I know. And like, that's a thing that's it, but it's kind of always a reference to Star Wars more so than it's just a phrase people say.
Yeah.
That's another thing from the original thing.
Yep.
It is crazy. And because we both how old were you when this first one came out? 1 year old?
Yeah.
Oh, no, 1999.
3 years, too, something like that, yeah.
Idiot doesn't remember his own age.
Yeah, for reference, I saw Revenge of the Sith. That's my first one.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying you wouldn't have lived in a world before that to know that people were saying it beforehand.
Very true.
He's old. He's not that old, chat. He's dying over here.
Yep. Okay, Jar Jar Binks.
He's in the middle. He's okay.
Perfect. Next up, Palpatine.
Hold on. This is a great one. But back on Jar Jar for a second. What was I going to say? When we see him in the second one, I'm like, it's the great Jar Jar. He's back. So I have to love him.
And his role is gone.
He does. But he's a senator now or something. It's great.
True, and he's like the reason Palpatine gets all the power. It's kind of crazy.
Another thing, like being a tone bro, that like it signals like immaturity to me. It's like, you're an idiot. Why can't you understand that? Like,
not on the tone of Jar Jar, you mean, compared to like...
Yeah, like, because people say that about Berserk. It's a common thing. Or people say towards the back end of like visionaries' careers, they just start doing comedy and they're like, oh, it's terrible, and they fell off. People used to say that increasingly about Berserk, but as new fans have gotten in, they've kind of just seen Berserk as one whole thing rather than parts. Like, the great part with the anime and then the shitty the fantasy stuff. Like, they do it with Vinland Saga, which is kind of in Berserk's thing where there's like more like the Baltic Sea War is too funny. It's funny that George fits into this like thingy where it's like, oh, he made the great original trilogy. Everything was so serious. And then towards the end, Ewoks. Like,
very true.
And then this one, we've got all the slapstick.
Oh my God.
So it's funny that I assume what's happening is like the mindset of somebody, like they've created something great. They understand that it's great. And they kind of get bored with like the more serious tone. And they're just like, return to Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes is actually good. Let me put some slapstick in because that really resonates. And I felt that even in my own like viewing experience. Like I definitely probably for a period of time was like a person that's like, it needs to be serious. Why is it not being funny? But now I'm like, yes, obviously. I guess it comes with the understanding of like one tone isn't better than the other, or the thing that's cool isn't necessarily better than the thing that's funny or something like that. That's just really funny that I figured out George. Another great visionary, like the great Kentaro Miura.
Yes.
He fits into the category.
Perhaps the defining visionary in this category.
Yes, I will. The funny thing is, because we talked about that briefly last time. This will be the last time I bring up Berserk, hopefully. Because I talked last time about how like a bunch of the monsters in the bar look like Berserk monsters. And it's like this fucking hack forward Kentaro Miura. Millennium the Falconer, can you believe it? Yeah. And obviously there's Jar Jar references with Puck. It's great.
Yep. And
where the fuck was I going at this point?
Talking about the references, and George is the original person who's inspiring all this.
There was really nothing in the prequels that stood out as Berserk focus. So Kentaro Miura, he's a cuck for the original trilogy. Oh, my joke.
Perhaps.
Genius.
Except the one,
True. But there was like no monster designs, It just proves these designs are shitty.
Yeah.
And the original.
Except for Darth Maul. People love that. But it's not really a monster.
Darth Maul. Is there no devil guy in Berserk? Is this crazy? We're not going to spend too much time on this. Sure there is. I'm trying to speculate here. The Great Griffith, he's the devil. I hate Ciclet. Now, Palpatine, EliteAri. The last time I might have said this, and I'm doubling down on this, tripling down on this. Palpatine is like the other thing that's really bad about this. Like Palpatine, and it's the truth of the original. Palpatine is a terrible character, and he ruins everything.
In what way?
He's too over the top. He's too cringe.
Yep.
The do-its, the blowjob noises,
the noises. Yeah, we love it.
Everything about it. It's just like, no, and he's like too over the top evil to be interesting at all. It's just like, I hate this guy. And we compared him, well, at least I did last time, to Voldemort. As in like Voldemort is actually really cool. It really, I don't know what the difference is, because everything I just said, you can kind of...
I was going to say, I completely agree. Everything you just said is great. That's a good element of Palpatine.
Well, yeah, and that's why you're a little...
Obviously, he's my favorite character. I've said this.
That's crazy. I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah, no, I love Palpatine. Every scene he's in is the best scene, except for the...
I guess from that perspective, watching him like win is probably like satisfying.
He loses in the original trilogy.
And he does. Again, the original trilogy, you get in the way. But he's just not good at all. I hate everything. I hate that everything revolves around him. I hate that he's behind everything in sort of a plot sense. It sort of undermines a lot of the plot things. Every time a cool mystery would come up, I would realize, it's just Palpatine. It would like cuck me out of having a full speculation. Because when they're like, somebody ordered the droid army, and it was not the droid army, the clone army, and it was this guy, but he was dead. But it was obviously, Palpatine set it up so they could have a war or something. Now, unless you're going to tell me that's not true, but I'm pretty sure it is. And it's just like, everything that's cool. And it's also an interesting thing, because the dramatic irony is that the assumption, I assume, is that people going in, like George understands that people are going to know that Palpatine is like the bad guy, especially by Attack of the Clones.
Kind of.
So it's like, even he's, like, it's kind of no, it's not the opposite of dramatic irony. It's like the opposite of like a mystery. It's like, well, the audience is going to know in this moment. It is just dramatic irony where it's like, the characters don't know, but we do know.
Kind of. I don't know if I again, all my knowledge about Star Wars comes from the Rebel Force radio podcast, but in that they talk a lot about how George tried to make sure that Palpatine wasn't made clear that he is the Emperor when you're watching the prequels.
The same actor.
But when you're a kid, you might not recognize him.
It's true, again, yeah.
And also he is like, he is always cloaked, like whenever he is Sidious and usually with him, he's always like a bit hard to see. And it's like, as anyone who isn't like a 5-year-old kid, it's like, obviously it's obvious. But it isn't even, they always used to say in the podcast that, George was trying to protect them from like the kids not knowing, and it's his, I don't know where the truth of that is.
But even that's different, because even if you don't think that the senator is Palpatine, you still know it's Palpatine, because, well, I guess if you haven't seen the originals, you don't know who Palpatine is. But like, it's Palpatine. You just might not know that the senator is Palpatine, but you definitely
Well, you don't know Palpatine's name. Like
that doesn't matter, but it's the Emperor, like you could
know Sidious is the Emperor. You
might not know Sidious.
Well, no, but you wouldn't know that Sidious is the same person as Palpatine. The Senator.
But no, you can tell from like I guess you could say they might all look the same.
He talks a bit differently. He's a bit clouded. You can.
Does he talk differently?
Yeah, it was slightly. Yeah.
You know what was crazy? I saw a YouTube short and it was like, oh, in Empire it was a different voice than in Jedi, and I was like, I didn't notice that at all.
I don't think it is a different voice. Is that it originally had a different Emperor?
Oh, okay. Because the clip I did see was him saying like, oh, George played me the original or whatever, and I assumed he meant like, oh, but maybe they had an original voice. Okay.
Yeah, I think they replaced it after the theatrical thing. I think that's what it was. Yeah, pretty crazy.
He's not talking different. You're a liar.
Yeah. No, he talks more dark and like with a weird voice. I don't know.
And even worse than the original.
What I do like about Palpatine, what I think is pretty cool, is that he gets progressively older looking in these movies. Like in the first one, but he looks zapped. No, not that's the one I'm talking about. I mean, Palpatine before he gets zapped. In the first one, he looks very young, and he looks like an actual senator or something. The second one, he looks a lot older, like notably so. I guess it has been 10 years or whatever, but they do a good job of making it look like that. And in the third one, he looks even older. I think it's very well done, and it kind of
vaguely recall it.
Like oh my god, the visuals are matching, like the actual phone or whatever. Oh my god, it's so cool.
It is funny because I never knew. Like, and obviously my Star Wars knowledge is very vague, but like the fact, it wasn't until the ninth movie where he came back and it was still the same actor, because I was like, wouldn't that actor be long dead if he was an old man in 1970 something? Yeah, I didn't know that he was like a young guy in makeup in the first one. It was a great idea. Yeah. It's like, oh, he actually gets to be in all three of them. Like, yep. And he's like properly, like he's the same.
Yep.
It's funny.
It is. But yeah, just to reiterate,
why is he in that ninth one? Now I preeminently hate that shitty ninth movie.
No, you never know. He could be the best part of that movie. Who knows? But to reiterate, I like Palpatine. I like his...
Isn't Rey his daughter or some shit?
I will have to find out. I like his overacting. I like his melodramatic nature. I like his little ominous speeches. I like the way he looks visually. I like Palpatine, basically.
I guess
I like his plotting, even though it is very simple in this particular series. In the Clone Wars, it's really, really good.
It's not that simple. It's probably like, I guess it's simple but complex.
Maybe it's for someone who's like seen it a million times. I'm like, yeah, he like does this. He has like both sides of the wall. It's like kind of cool that he's like,
part of me assumed it didn't make sense that he was like, oh, well, I guess he just wants a war to happen because he's evil and stuff. But I guess it's just so there's discontent and they can do a vote of no confidence or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, he wants emergency powers, so he plays both sides of the war. He feeds like two armies to fight each other, I guess, and he is in control of both of them. Like he is in control of Dooku, who's in control of the Separatists, and it's like he is obviously in control of the Republic initially through Padme. Yeah, it is. It's also really fascinating to see that in the first movie he is just a senator. And it is a funny thing. And from Naboo of all places, Jar Jar Binks' planet. It is like funny.
Padme's planet is the more interesting part.
Yeah, true.
Oh, there was something else I was going to say before that was only tangentially related. It was going to be Genius Theory, but I've forgotten.
He has grey hair.
True.
I don't know. Yeah, okay. I don't know what you want to do there. Okay, next up, because in this movie particularly, there are two characters that aren't in any of the others, except I just realized that's wrong. Anakin's mum.
The great Shamina.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It was kind of sad. I don't know why they couldn't. Waters just like, no, 2 slaves is too much money or something.
No thing is.
I have no idea what she does.
I don't know either.
But who cares? It's just a plot device. Doesn't matter. I don't know. It was like sad. The weird thing was that I looked it up. She's a Swedish actress, and sometimes she would just have the Swedish accent on, and sometimes she would like have an American accent on.
I'd never noticed
that. Like distracted me a little bit.
For me, she just hasn't. I don't know what accent it was, but I noticed an accent the whole time. I don't know. She has an earnest performance. I don't think she doesn't leave a big mark on me or anything.
I don't know. I was very sad. I was like, man, you just gotta. There's like, I'm like, because the thing is, you're like, oh, you're waiting for like, why doesn't he just steal it? Like it's slavery. It's not like it's a morally bad thing.
We had like,
that thing too.
Yeah.
Just there has to be a way for a Jedi to get out of this blowing up business.
No, it's impossible.
It just didn't happen, and I guess it's just so she can die.
Well, maybe it is just against like the Jedi code or something. I don't know. It probably isn't.
The great Qui-Gon would do what was right rather than a shitty Jedi code.
Yeah, but maybe that is an act of selfishness in his regard.
Wasn't that cool? And
he wanted Anakin specifically, and he knew that he can't have. There's no way he can train if he brings his mom and all that.
Wasn't it cool when they were like, "Oh, the great Qui-Gon would be on the council, but he's just too cool."
True, yes.
I was like, "Yes, the great Qui-Gon would beat the fuck out of this dumb green idiot."
Absolutely. Okay.
Another fun, no, never mind. I've already started saying it. It's very funny that Yoda just gives up at the end and doesn't just go back and try and fight Palpatine.
True.
Or even the next week, or even the next month, like just sneak in there and kill him. What are you doing?
He's lost everything. He
just gave up for 20 years. Why?
There's nothing he could do. No, he didn't give up. He was waiting.
Yeah.
Okay? And he knocked it off in the end. Okay?
It's not like Palpatine was beating him.
Yeah, but now he has he's got his whole army. He's got
he's just like in the original trilogy, EliteAri.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You've got to fit.
But he didn't meet Chewbacca, wasn't that kind of funny?
That was another anti-swimmer. Because they didn't show the Wookiee pocket. Let's give it. They did show all the Wookiees, and I'm like, oh, Chewbacca's got to be here. There's no way we're resisting not doing this.
Yep.
And then, like, because I think you see a group of them, and they look like different. It's not like Chewbacca looking. And then there's one guy that looks like Chewbacca. And then he's just in the background for something. You're like, is that the great Chewbacca? And then it does reveal at the end that it was the great Chewbacca.
I'm going to miss you, Chewbacca. Oh, my God.
And if again, why didn't they have a moment in the original trilogy? This is another
explore each other. That's possible, yeah.
That's yes, but obvious. Shut up, EliteAri. I'm about to make that point. I feel like if you did it the way you did it, it'd be like terrible. Like none of it would like watch these first and then the next ones, because it's like all the stuff here doesn't have a cool payoff.
Oh, it does.
It's all undermined in the next trilogy because everything's boring.
But you get all the payoffs here. It's a depressing ending.
Oh.
Like like that's what a great ending. It's like a subversive thing, you know. As a kid, you're like, what?
But it's not depressing because we know everyone's gonna win.
But you don't say
you didn't. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like everything that's built up, like you would just see it like peter out. It would be like Game of Thrones season 8. Like everything you were invested in would just be like shit on and moved over for like other new stuff.
It is, but the thing is, Revenge of the Sith.
You're some kid, you like it anyway.
Firstly, it ends depressingly, but also optimistically, like with the kid looking after the sun or whatever. It's like, oh, you know, it's like still hope and stuff. I think it's kind of cool. You could just watch this.
No, the ending works sort of in the actual context, but in the context of like watching everything, like
yeah, sure.
Like, yeah, you would be like, you'd be like, oh, Chewbacca's going to see his great old friend Yoda. And it just never happens. And it would just be like, it's like, why didn't we see Arya find out that Jon Snow was a Targaryen or whatever? It's like, man, should have had that character moment.
There probably is some element of it, because it is a very common thing, at least when I was first getting into Star Wars.
Where
people would say like, oh, the prequels, I mean, this is just my generation, I guess, but the prequels are so fun and interesting. Then you get to like the boring, slow, like original trilogy. But maybe it is unironic that people think that because the characters that they like so much aren't in it. Like, Anakin doesn't, I mean, Anakin isn't.
He's not in it, really.
Yeah, Obi-Wan doesn't look like Obi-Wan at all and doesn't behave like him. It's like, if maybe all my characters were, like Padme was here, it'd be like so cool and stuff, and I'd be so engaged, but no one's there that I'm invested in.
It really is.
Again, and it's like, oh, I don't want to.
Like that. Yeah. In that context, Padme dying is like oh, what if they met her? It would be so cool and stuff. But like, oh, she did just like, we have to kill her. It's kind of is like the Casca thing without the out. But yeah,
it's not a necessity. You don't have to kill her. You can just hide her away.
Well, yeah, but then we don't meet her, and then we'd have to commit to doing an episode 7 when they did meet her. But we even care at this point.
Probably, yeah.
It's been like so long. It's like, oh, you met your mum when you were like 40, and she's like 70. Isn't that cool?
Yep.
And maybe in these sequels they have a big force projection. Everybody's there, and Padme's cuddling little Luke after he dies, and I'll be so happy.
Yeah, Disney loves the prequels. I'm sure. I'm sure they'll reference everything that was in the prequels.
It is very funny that because I did watch the original 3, I think before 7, but I have seen 7. And it's not like now having watched the prequels, I don't remember anything from the prequels in 7.
Yep, absolutely not.
That's pretty epic and funny.
They were, it was a different time, 2015.
Yes, we hated them before Disney became the hated. They were the haters. What were we just talking about? That's something else.
Anakin's mum is what we were just talking about, and then we went on to a million tangents. I don't know.
Who cares?
Okay, last character.
Oh, Anakin's mother.
Oh, I thought you said
he marries that one dude. He was kind of the slave. Another time, she's cancelled in 2027 or something. Because that's not good. You can't be. You
can definitely have a movie about a slave. It'll be like
falling in love with her slave master.
Yeah, I think it'd be controversial, but it wouldn't be cancelable.
I think if you had a boss be in love with their employee, it would be cancelable
in a movie,
or it would be funny because it's like, but he'd have to be portrayed as like a sleazy bad guy.
Yeah.
Or there would be a million think pieces about how irresponsible it is. But the fucking conservative movies are starting to pop up anyway. Whatever, the shooter one about the immigrants or whatever. Or the sex traffickers, Sound of Silence or whatever it was called.
Yeah, okay.
Lady Ballers, EliteAri's favorite. We're going to be reacting to that soon.
Yep, I have no context.
That's Ben Shapiro's movie, EliteAri.
Oh, amazing.
Get it? They pretend to be women and win the women basketball or something.
That's very funny.
the mother, EliteAri. I don't know. That guy was like nice, but he was all fucked up. It was very like
He lost the leg trying to save her. Oh my god,
it's true. And they're not even related to the aunt and uncle. That's kind of funny.
There is a brief thing about the leg thing. I was so invested. I was like, oh my god, Anakin, please believe this guy. Like he's a good guy. Don't get mad at him because you're like Anakin and stuff. And he lost his leg, and Anakin understood. I'm like, oh. And he leaves, and he's like, Padme, stay with them. They're good people. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm so happy.
And then he never thought to go and visit him afterwards. To find his little son.
He was just so depressed.
Right, he does in Solo, right? He goes in the Obi-Wan thing, right? I think I know that about that. Darth Vader fights him on Tatooine, doesn't he?
No, I mean I don't think so. Maybe.
I thought so.
No, I don't think so.
Well, it would probably make sense if Obi-Wan goes somewhere else in that TV show, right?
That was not a good show. We're not going to talk about that show.
I can't wait. Taylor.
However, I do have to say, I did go back and watch a scene after, like watching episode 3 here, and I was like, oh, okay. Anyway.
Whatever.
One character. Hold on, okay?
Damn, we haven't talked about it yet.
Oh my god.
So she's a slave, and then those evil sand people just kill her. They weren't scary at all in the original trilogy. Well, they were kind of scary. They were decapitating C-3PO, but this time they killed her. It was like, these minor little villains can't kill a main character and have us be so sad about it, but they did.
Yep.
They were evil. They had her tied up, and she was tortured.
So Anakin killed them.
Oh, he did. The great Anakin. He got her.
Yep.
That was fine. Why was he sad about that?
Oh, what about killing the people? And
he didn't say the kids and children, didn't he?
Oh my god.
Fuck him.
Anyway, yeah. It was a cool scene, so I liked it.
Baby settlers, EliteAri. That's all I'm going to say.
We're not. Okay. Water. What do you think about water?
It's very funny. Now, I'm a kind of funny fan of EliteAri. This is going somewhere, which I've mentioned a few times throughout this. They hated these movies, but the great Greg Miller has always had a character where he'd come out in a water mask and like shirtless and he would do the voice, and it was always very funny.
That's kind of
so untangling that from Mr. Watto here was a little difficult. I think I got there eventually, and because I know a lot about Watto because of this, but in fact I didn't, because I thought Watto was in like one scene, and I didn't expect him to have little Anakin, and I didn't expect him to be like the major antagonist for like the whole middle portion. So that was kind of funny. Kind of funny.
That was a good one. My God.
Unintentional. I don't know. He was kind of a good bad guy, I think. He was a little Weasley guy, but sometimes he wasn't like the shitty emperor where he was like evil constantly. He'd be like, oh, you can go home after you do this. I was like,
true.
What a wise slave master.
And then in the second movie, he's like Annie, little Annie. Oh my god!
And he was broke and
and he had like he wasn't shaving and stuff, and clearly he's not having the best life. Now that Anakin's gone, and it's like this poor guy.
I sold her to the moisture farmers, whatever that means. It is funny that they go to Tatooine in the first one. I guess it's like, Luke grew up there, so Vader grew up there, but whatever.
Yep.
It's all like these new ones, and then Tatooine. Great.
Okay, what other notes do I have then?
Duel, and you're the third. Watto was the last one.
Yeah, Duel of Fates. We don't have much to say. The fight is cool. And there's the one.
Remember when they're just waiting behind doors and stuff?
That's the coolest bit, I think.
Things like that needed to be like shown more.
That was shown a long time.
It was like, well, yeah, but it wasn't like, I was like, what's happening? Okay, he's behind a door, but it's not like, I feel like you have to establish that. Like, you need 2 more shots of establishing.
Either you were falling asleep, you were paying attention, but
they just showed up and it's like, they have doors.
Wait. You know about the red doors? Yeah. Well, they're wedded?
Like, no, you understand what's happening
or whatever, and there's
you understand but it's like, why is there this segment with the doors? Obviously, it's like a kind of a clever idea, and there's a similar thing where I think it is when Yoda shows up. Like, he throws the Emperor, and the Emperor like lands weirdly, and it's like un-movie-like on his chair, and I was like, that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like this thing with the doors, where it's like, but like it's also weird. It's like not normal cinema stuff, and it's like it doesn't like taking you out for a second doesn't really mean anything, but it's like, that was like weird. I'm like off center.
Yeah, I can understand the Yoda thing with Palpatine. I don't know about the door thing.
I don't know. Yeah, the door. It just feels like, it's just here, and then the door thing's there, and then there's the dueling, and then he's caught behind another door, and it's like it's like a dramatic beat, but it feels like, I don't know. The way you do it in movies is that you have 2 more shots of build up for it or something. Something's off there. But
I don't know. Interesting. I think it's very cool. I also think it's a cool character thing. Like, there is the moment where they're all doing different things while they're waiting. Like, Qui-Gon turns his lightsaber off and waits. More
I didn't get that until it was explained to me where he's like meditating. I was like, oh, is he going to do the Obi-Wan thing where he like lets him kill him or something? But no, that didn't happen. Also, how come their bodies don't disappear? Also,
well, there's a good reason for that. But,
is there?
Of course. Yeah.
Is it, no, I was going to say, is it when a Sith kills them that they don't do that? But Darth Vader.
There's hints of what it is in the third movie, but it's like a Clone Wars thing. They talk about it a lot in the show, and they explain it very well and everything. But
well, tell me.
One day you might watch this amazing show, you know? Okay, no, it's because like the Jedi, if they at the end of their life they can embrace life after death and they can become a thing.
Oh,
they have to go through the real
death.
Everything. Yeah, they have to be accepting of it, which is why the Sith can never do it because they don't accept death.
The great Obi-Wan would have not shitty Obi-Wan. The great what is his name?
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon would have accepted.
Well, he is in those episodes of the Clone Wars where he is like a voice. He's like half transitioned on, and it's like he's guiding Yoda through his journey, kind of. Or not Yoda, I guess. I think he is there for Yoda's thing, but it's like a whole thing. Yoda has a whole arc where he's like trying to learn how to do it, and it's really cool. It's like metaphysical stuff, and they go into these weird planets with these weird angel ladies who represent emotions and stuff, and it's cool.
Sounds lame. But
yeah, it's very cool.
It is another like fucking with the original trilogy thing is like, why wasn't the great Qui-Gon there discussing things with Obi-Wan after he's dead, and why wasn't he there at the end?
Well, maybe we should watch the Obi-Wan TV show.
Maybe we should.
Maybe we see Qui-Gon in there. I don't know. But yeah, that's an actor who's much older now, but still would kind of fit the role, I guess.
Because it feels like shouldn't like Mace Windu be there too, just cheering on Luke?
Yeah, rip.
Saying, Luke, I know the super special sword move. This is how you're going to do it. Obviously, they didn't exist, but
very true. Okay, what other things do I have? Oh, I have a criticism of the visual effects.
Okay.
The Trade Federation people are practical, and their mouth effects are terrible.
I thought it was terrible because it was CGI.
No, it's absolutely practical, and they have like this really complicated like mouth movement thing, and it does not match with their mouth at all. And I'm like, you should have just done CGI for this.
These guys are still around in the third movie. It was crazy.
Yeah.
What's his name? Vice Gun or something?
Yeah, Newt Gunray, yeah. Viceroy Gunray.
Viceroy, that's the one.
Yep.
Vice.
He's the GOAT. We love him.
He's the one.
We're part of the Clone Wars. He has all arcs there.
Sure he is.
One thing, I don't know if you noticed this, maybe you've heard about it as well, is that where'd you watch this, on Disney Plus?
The great Disney Plus.
Yeah, Yoda, by far, looks the best in The Phantom Menace. His model is the best because they went and redid it, I'm pretty sure, in the Blu-ray release. And it's, like, notable. Like, he looks much worse in the second one, and he even looks worse in the third one compared to the first movie.
I didn't notice any. Yeah. It's nonsense.
It's very clear, like, when you look at it. But yeah, just pointing that out.
Maybe they did the 3D re-release. And
it probably was. Maybe that was what it was. I thought it was the Blu-ray.
We got special edition prequels. This is crazy.
Yep. Okay, and then my last note for The Phantom Menace is the costuming is pretty great. Especially, obviously, for Padme. Like, she has really cool outfits.
Yes, Padme is cool. Her voice is cool. Kind of funny guys shit on that, too, when I was mad. Oh, I already said that, didn't I?
Yep.
The voice was cool. She was she was like Keira Knightley or something, which is a famous actress, but she was just a body double or something.
True.
And then they kill off the great body double at the beginning of that shitty next movie. Can you believe it? I was so sad.
Which sets off a
chain
reaction that goes with the whole movie. It's kind of crazy, yeah.
Well, I haven't read any of my notes yet, but they shouldn't take too long.
Go ahead. I can't see them from here, but yeah.
They're kind of trying to do the very first shot. They're kind of trying to do, because I remember my favorite thing from the original trilogy was when they're landing and they go, requesting something. They did it for the first scene. I don't think they ever. Maybe they did it later, but it only felt right in this first scene. They land, and then they got like a kid pilot, and then the ship just gets blown up, and they're dead. It was so funny.
Wait, what do we even? Yes. You're right.
Because so weird. I don't know. It's like I was like, these prequels are gonna fucking suck, but they were all right.
Yep. I do think the beginning of The Phantom Menace is a bit weird, in that it feels like it's clearly referencing the original trilogy. They even like mentioned, Master Yoda when he was training me or something. And I'm like, they're mentioning
their name often
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say the first shot of like the CGI droid, I was like, oh no. But I got used to it by the second shot, I guess. Because my second note is ugly CG and dumb monsters, and I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Are you brain dead was very funny, because one of the Asian guys says, are you brain dead? And I was like, that's like a funny phrase and you wouldn't hear today. So, are you brain dead? They're Jedi. You can't fuck with them or something, he says. Terrific. What do they mean in Star Wars? Did I ask you this question last time? I think I almost must have. What do they mean in Star Wars when they say system? because they're always like the Dagobah system. But Dagobah,
I don't think you've asked
planets. But I figured it out, EliteAri.
Okay, go ahead.
Because if you were going, because when you're in a big scale, a galactic scale, you're not going to say the Milky Way galaxy. You're going to say the Earth system, because Earth is the only planet in that system with life on it. So therefore, and that would make sense if you take, because there wouldn't be three. I just spat on you. Kill yourself. There wouldn't be three planets in one system with life on it. That just wouldn't make sense.
So firstly, we have something called the solar system. You know that.
Yeah.
Which has a system in it. Secondly, I think it's just a collection of planets that are like either ruled by a similar thing or they're just like in a similar location.
So the Dagobah system is also has a planet called Dagobah.
Yeah, I assume. And the Mandalore system has a planet called Mandalore.
But it also has another planet that doesn't get... Was this just the first one we discovered? In the Great Jedi Archive?
Yeah, perhaps it is possible.
The naming scheme seems a little weird. But they're doing it in the original trilogy, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's just a thing, how they say things. I don't know, actually, what the... Like, is it actually the first thing you find? Because I know Mandalore has I don't know if it's a million. It has a lot of planets around it. Who knows? This is a question for the comments. Please let us know, guys, okay?
I want to be a Star Wars historian. All right, I got 17 other notes here, EliteAri. It's so Star Wars how matter-of-factly they roll up on the princess and have her captured, and there's a scene where somebody comes and tells the bad guy that. Reiterating information is also a Star Wars thing where it's like, we'll see her get captured, and then somebody will go and tell the bad guy she's been captured, and then she'll be brought in. I feel like that must have happened with Leia or something. Or it's, the real filmmaking technique, EliteAri, is that if the audience found out then, you don't have to say it again or something. Anyway.
Amazing.
The droids are necessary. So, this is just saying, they did the droids so we could cut through things with our new lightsaber effects and not have it be like blood everywhere. But even later, I'm pretty sure they are cutting through stormtroopers, right?
Yeah.
And
stormtroopers, yeah.
They're already... I think those movies are PG, and there was some crazy shit happening in that third.
I think the third one is the only PG one, I think, right?
Well, I think on Disney Plus they also...
Oh, maybe, okay. Maybe in America they're different.
That third one should have been MA-15 Plus. What the fuck?
But then you cut out a lot of audience.
True.
But yeah.
But if we're a fair rating system, we should be getting on the top of this. Necessary lightsabers, stormtroopers are people. What is there to show up in this movie? Oh, I was sort of thinking about this because thinking about games in this sort of sense where it's like, so we're doing a sequel, EliteAri. What are our principles? What are we going to show off that's different, that's really cool? And I was like, well, we're doing a whole new Star Wars trilogy. What are we going to do that's going to be the thing we're going to put in the poster that people will be like, oh my goodness, they got that in it? I was like, obviously it's the CGI. It's obviously massively different than the original. So we want to have all of that stuff. And we want to have a bunch of CGI things on screen constantly and do a lot with CGI. Did you know there's only one shot in the original movie that doesn't have CGI in it? It's like a vent or something. Kind of funny talking about that. The other thing is lightsaber battles, obviously. The original trilogy didn't have any, so we've got to have a bunch of cool ones now. We're swinging around and doing this stupid shit. So that's number 2. We got to have lightsabers and CGI right at the beginning, which we did. And creatures like Jar Jar that are all fully CG, and that's obviously the beginning. So I was like, that's probably what the pitch was. George is like, it's lightsaber fights that are cool. CG stuff, and we can create monsters. Crazy. So that's like the pitch. That's the iterative thing in the prequels, and also this is like all the stuff that Red Letter Media shit on. So it's like funny in that sense. Was it just because it was different, EliteAri?
Probably. Now there is a thing to say about George Lucas, which is always said about him, which is that he is trying to push the frontier of filmmaking.
He's a genius. He's a revolutionary.
Like he is the reason Pixar exists, right? Because like Steve Jobs went to see him in Lucasfilm and is like, look at all this tech stuff he's doing. Let's make Pixar. We can do 3D animation stuff. But he's like, obviously, and also, as well as like, oh my god, Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, they're like a leading like production house for like VFX and everything.
So is that different from Lucasfilm?
I don't know these days how it works, but as far as I understand, ILM would be like, I don't actually know. I truly have no idea. I was going to say they're like a sub-branch of Lucasfilm, but maybe not. Maybe they are like a separate thing. I have no idea. But I know George Lucas was the owner at some point.
Does George Lucas do anything?
He does everything. He's a CEO. What doesn't it?
Does he? So he's currently the CEO of the company.
Of Lucasfilm? No, he retired.
Yeah, that's
like, Disney bought it out.
That's what I was asking.
They paid like $4 billion and just bought everything, I think. Except for like the museums thing in San Francisco, which I think he wanted to build or something.
So did they build Industrial Lights and Magic Poo? Did they buy that?
Yeah, of course, yeah. All the assets. Like even the Skywalker sound stuff.
And it was only for like $4 billion or something.
Yeah, which is crazy. Same amount as like.
Because I feel like I remember that. Now this probably happened in like 2010 or something. I feel like I remember on like the radio,
maybe like 2012.
People being like, and they bought it for $4. That's so much money. But then it's like the movies made that back, and that's not even.
Let's see. Is that 4 billion? 4 billion, 4.05.
I'm a fucking genius. I got the golden memory.
Yep. But anyway, what I was going to say, this kind of leads into the next discussion, but the Attack of the Clones movie is the first like feature film like this, which was filmed entirely digitally, which was like a big technology thing. He was trying to push digital like filmmaking and stuff.
And we'll never forgive him for it. The great Quentin Tarantino still shoots on film or something. I bet that great Nosferatu movie we're about to see shot entirely on film.
Yeah, that sucks, maybe. But yeah, okay, anyway, keep going.
Oh, well, why don't you just not... I've got to find my place. There's a bunch of familiar-looking droids, and one guy does sound like Obi-Wan. Is it really... Oh, I'm just saying people that look similar.
Yep.
Now, this was something I was going to bring up earlier, but the sort of matter-of-factly, sort of un-fan servicey way they do the soy with Chewbacca is also how they do it with R2-D2, where it's like, it's not like, because I feel like in the sequels, right, they come up, there's a big dramatic shot, you see the tracking, it's going across the ground, you're hearing some noise, and it's fucking R2-D2, and he gets a little thing and he poses and stops in front of the camera, and there are people to clap, whereas in this movie, there's just like a bunch of droids over there, and you're like, oh, that one looks like R2-D2, pretty original, and then you're like, holy fucking shit. It's the great R2-D2 over there. And then he's on the roof and the other ones all get blown away very violently when he sticks on. It's very interesting how the fan service handled very differently.
And then he gets a whole scene where it's like knighting him. This is the droid that saved your life, princess. Oh my god, or queen. Yeah.
But yeah. So it's more, that's just very interesting. Like it's the same concept but doing it in a very different, like stop and clap and then holy shit, slow drip feed of, well not slow, but you slowly figuring it out, which is fine. The huts I have with question mark because there's two of them.
Well,
it's very funny.
Was there two of them in this movie?
There was a lady one. That was smaller, I think.
Yeah, interesting.
So he wasn't raping Princess Leia because he's got a lady and he can only have sex with the lady hut.
Maybe
because he doesn't have a penis. He's a little thingy.
Again, something that is explored in the Clone Wars, but not really.
The raping?
Well, the having of children and stuff, I guess. Yeah. Kind of crazy.
I didn't even realize. Oh, also, when I saw him in this, I was like, oh, Jabba the Hutt's going to be in like all these movies,
my God.
obviously, but he's not in anything. This is just his only scene.
Wait, we're going to watch all the theatrical movies, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to watch the Clone Wars theatrical movie that was released in the cinemas? Why not? That's a Star Wars movie made by George Lucas, released in the theaters.
How have I never heard of this?
I don't know. Yeah, it came out before the Clone Wars story came out.
I don't even want to watch Solo.
Yeah, neither. I don't really want to watch that either, but...
That is something we have to talk about. Like, do we do... like, part of me wants to do them in order, but like, then Solo is before, then we'll talk about this later.
Yes.
Anakin is much more of a character than I expected to be. I thought he would be like 3. I didn't even think he was that bad of an actor. I'm a person, my name's Anakin. It's pretty bad though. There you go. We've talked about that. Lots of questioning and not really knowing what this movie is about or who it's about. It's a bit messy, has a lot going on, but also it's kind of granted this lack of direction because everybody's already invested and interested because it's a sequel to one of the biggest movie franchises of all time. This is an interesting point because, again, the Red Letter Media criticism does remove it from the context a little bit because it says, it compares it to A New Hope all the time, but obviously A New Hope has to earn sort of your interest, whereas this movie doesn't because everybody's going into it waiting for it to be Star Wars, so it can like start with a character with a little story, then go to a different character with a little story. It's sort of like a benefit of... Because obviously, like, your movie has to start with a bang. You got to know the characters immediately. You got to be proficient with your time. You got to get them invested. But it's like, if they're already invested, you do have the benefit of just like... Because a lot of sequels, I feel like, they always start with like a long scene of the villain. And it's just like, oh, Doc Ock is here. Definitely didn't have it in Spider-Man 2, but I'm making this up. It's like, oh, and you have like a 5-minute sequence. And then the first time you see the hero is 6 minutes in, and you're like, oh, finally, we got to see the great Andrew Garfield again. Sure. It's like banking on that already interest. Now, it's not to say, I'm sure there's a bunch of like single installment movies that start with the villain. But it's just like sort of an interesting of like, oh, you are afforded that almost because of the, you have a pre-audience and that's a different than going into it with the mindset of being like, oh, this is just a movie. Genius. Yeah. Red Letter Media falls again to the great George Lucas.
Yep.
Darth Maul does not sound how I expected him to sound. Why is he so short? True.
Last will have our revenge.
When he first shows up, though, that's a cool scene. But then right after,
folding his arms next to Palpatine,
it's very dramatic. But then he's walking next to Palpatine. He's a midget. What the fuck?
I wonder how
we
tall
hate
he is.
midgets here.
Let's see. Ray Pod 1.75.
The thing is, the voice and the actor are different people or something is another thing I thought I heard.
Yeah, he was Serafinowicz or something.
Yeah, see him just try to cheat that? This idiot better not be taller.
I mean, he's the voice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nah, this guy's the height.
1.92.
He's taller. Never mind, the other guy's the height.
Yeah.
What? Well, why did they frame him to look so short then?
I don't know. That's kind of cool.
Immediately, I was
how
like,
powerful he is.
little
Great.
dork.
No,
Beat the fuck out of this
We love
little
that.
dork with his shitty voice.
And that's the irony that he kills your amazing character Qui-Gon. It's
No, don't say that. I'll kill you. Now, the Jesus and devil thing going on with Maul and Anakin, whatever, not even interesting. What does the EliteAri think about the Force again? Now, I think this was...
Oh, boy.
We should definitely save this because we're probably going to cut the recording in a second because we got to go see Nosferatu. So we'll talk about the morality of the Jedi and the Force as a theme later. So remind me to bring that up.
Okay.
We got to shit on these dumb Jedi. What was the pod? I thought the pod racing was at the end is my next note. I didn't talk about that. It feels more tropey and less unique or trend-setting than as the first trilogy. I did think this.
Sorry, you say it does or it doesn't?
It doesn't. I feel like it's... Well, I mean, the CGI is very trend-setting. It was digital.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
I feel like this is only talking about the sort of writing aspects where it feels like I think it's just a modernity thing. I can't remember how we brought this up earlier, but it's like, it does feel more of like a modern movie or just like a movie type thing. Whereas like, I guess the original trilogy, it could just feel like a 70s movie, and I haven't seen that many 70s movies. Oh, I've seen a few earlier. I'm a genius. They're probably all Francis Ford Coppola movies, so that's not a good sample size.
Yeah. When you say a modern movie, do you mean 2000s or you mean like today even?
I mean, kind of both.
Okay. I'm interested in what you're going to say when we've seen the sequels.
Well, I think that will be similar in this aspect because this is very specific of like how things happen. Well, not even how things happen. It's like what happens is sort of like, and then this happens. And then we get this scene kind of thing. But I haven't talked like a bunch about this, about how it's weirdly unique and fucked up in a bunch of ways. I remember having this thought here. I don't remember having this thought later. So the Jedi rejection to love because they're afraid of hate Yoda monologue, that's why they are wrong? ? I think this is more Jedi stuff.
So does anger. Anger leads to
So that's in this movie,
suffering. I think so, yeah. Because he's like, are you afraid of the Anakin? He's like talking to Anakin.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of something? Yeah.
Because, part of me is like, so why can't Anakin just have a girlfriend?
Well, he talks about it in the next movie. He's like, love is actually encouraged, you know?
To love everybody.
Unconditional love, the ultimate form of love.
Yes. But I guess it makes sense, especially if you are supposed to be this... Because I guess I don't really think about the Jedi as like this monk society, but like, that is like the thing, right? The King's Guard aren't supposed to have girlfriends because they might want to save their girlfriend more than they want to save the king or whatever. Yeah. It's like, well, if you want to... And even like, it's almost like a discipline thing, right? Where it's like, nuns don't have sex because they're totally devout to God or whatever. So it's sort of like anything like, you don't eat junk food when you're on a diet. It's for pussies. And it's just like sex or love as... Because we sort of think of love as like a good thing, but to put it in that context of it being sort of like a weakness is kind of interesting. And I could see, I'm pretty sure monks aren't supposed to have girlfriends or whatever. Like, it's not just nuns. What are the boy nuns called, EliteAri? Pastors. They're not allowed to get married or whatever either. Anyway. Cutting too early all the time, we talked about that. The whole movie, I've been like, Padme is just kind of shitty lady, but then I realized she was her mom, and I'm like, oh,
crazy.
Retconning stuff, mostly with the droids. We already talked about this. Also, I wouldn't Qui-Gon. Do you like the spelling?
Yeah, that's something. Okay.
And Windu, that's probably an equally as good spelling.
Yeah, it's very Japanese.
Be in the... just why aren't they there in the original trilogy? We already talked about this. It's funny that in the early 2000s / late 90s, we still can't figure out jumping. It had X-Men jumping. Did you notice?
Well, like where it's really
terrible.
Like,
It's like clearly a wire, and it's...
like that?
There's one. I think Obi-Wan at the end fight jumps up to a platform they're fighting on or something.
Okay, yeah.
And it's really bad. And it's like, I still can't believe when we were watching X-Men.
Yeah.
And when Wolverine was jumping around like this, and his arms were up and really steady, the wire was moving.
Yeah.
It's so funny that, because I think of them as like modern movies. It's like, obviously they figured out jumping CGI by then, but they hadn't.
No, yeah.
I wonder what Spider-Man looks like.
That looks good.
Does it?
Except for maybe the first one. The first one looks a bit weird. The second one looks really good.
The first one is 2002. Obviously, X-Men is 2000, and then this is 1999.
Yeah, but more something I just remembered, which you have to watch if you haven't seen it. The Phantom Menace behind the scenes documentary. It's unbelievably thorough. And like, he's very candid.
It's where all the clips from the Red Letter Media video come from. Where it's like, nobody's look at them all. They all know it's shit in this frame, and nobody's questioning the great George Lucas. Telling him it's shit.
But it's a great, like, they talk about like the production issues, and there was like a big storm in Tunisia or whatever. They're recording the Tatooine stuff, and it destroyed all their props. It's like really cool.
I do like behind the scenes shit like that.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's like they just hired a guy to like come and like record everything. They didn't do it for the other one. The second one is like a more like contained kind of, not as free and everything. But and the third one, I don't think it has one at all. But yeah, it's a really good one. This first movie.
Oh, my last note is the ending is so weird because obviously the end they do the like, oh, we have to come together thing, which is fine. It's not even like they weren't even fighting or whatever. They were just on the opposite side of the planet. I'm talking about the Great Naboo and the wait, that's just the one, the Gungans, the Great Gungans, and their fat leader guy who's very funny.
Lost Nass, yeah.
The Great Lost Nass. I can't wait to remember that name. The ending of the whole movie is him coming up and getting a cup and raising it.
Yep.
Why
do we? Pretty cool, isn't it?
Why was it focused on him?
The symbolic nature.
I know, but
everyone
like,
coming together.
Like have him and Padme like hold hands and lift it up or something. Why is it just this guy with this dumb?
Because they were an oppressed society.
They weren't oppressed. They were an equal but separate, is what Naboo said. EliteAri.
Yeah, but those are the oppressors. That's what they would say.
Kind of, yeah, because Padme does have the speech. The Padme speech to them was cute too. I like that scene.
True. Yeah. Padme's the girl.
But it's just like, why wouldn't it be Jar Jar? Why is it the fat guy?
Because
he's the leader. Shut up. But like, I'm talking about an emotional standpoint of like, it's weird. But all the Star Wars movies have ended terribly. So,
except, well, we haven't got to it yet. But one of them has a long, drawn-out ending that has a lot of ending.
Third one does. The second one, I can't remember what the last.
A very quick ending.
Was it? What is it? Tell me.
It's like you have the fight with the clones, basically, and then you have one scene afterwards, which is like Dooku and Palpatine, like the Clone Wars have begun or something.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, not Dooku. Oh yeah, Dooku. Yeah.
It's one of them. Somebody's talking about war.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, it's the actual Clone Wars. That all this shitty cartoon has to happen between 2 and 3. This is crazy. If I didn't know, hold on, I don't know if the Star Wars universe needed to be fleshed out. I was so negative with my last note there.
Yep.
True. But it is funny because that's something I did complain about was the shots of all the weird places at the end of the special edition third movie.
Yep.
Right. I haven't gone back on that yet. It's still weird and out of place.
Well, you steal a favorite planet, Coruscant. Oh my god!
And the Great Naboo with my Great Jar Jar, but it still doesn't make any sense. Well, obviously it makes sense, but it's clashes. What was I saying? What was my point? Oh, because in the original trilogy, my whole thing was like they call Cloud City a small city when I'm like, it's the only city in the whole galaxy. You guys are retarded. Obviously, that's very different here.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, again, it's just like these two worlds don't really fit. Whatever. Who cares?
Sorry, that's what the sequels will do. I'm sure unify them all. It's gonna be great.
True.
Yeah. Okay, and we're back now with Attack of the Clones. So the second of the prequel movies. Just go right into it. What did you think about this one?
Well, EliteAri, I was just looking at Letterboxd here and opening things up. Did you know Attack of the Clones, the worst rated one on Letterboxd? Can you believe that?
I think it has faced the most criticism. The first one has, oh my god, the VFX are so good, they use practical stuff. People love that. And oh my god, the pod race is so cool. The second one has like, oh, the Obi-Wan stuff is good, but like, oh, the romance stuff, it ruins it. It's so bad. That's what I hear about this one.
Well, there's only a 0.1% difference between the first and the second one here on the Great Letterboxd. That shitty third one has a 3.9, if you can believe it.
Yeah, the talking point for the third one is either, the prequels are bad, but the third one there, that's a decent movie. Or the third one is the greatest Star Wars movie of all time. That's the other option. But
that would be an embarrassing thing to say.
Yeah, we'll see. But yes, Attack of the Clones.
I think we already did our overview about the movie, so we'll just jump in notes, huh?
Okay, so the first one we already talked about, shot entirely digitally.
My first note was, I'm so excited, ! Because obviously I knew the plot beat by beat of that shitty first movie, because I've seen so many videos about it, but I was just like, I don't know what happens in the second and third one, where they're divvied up, what it looks like, how people are introduced, and what's going on. So I was just so excited, but I was also tired, if you remember.
Sure, yeah. So I would say this one has it is a mix. Like you've got a mix of two genres here. You have like a mystery kind of thing where everyone is like chasing someone down and trying to figure out what's happening. And that lasts all the way from the beginning to the end of the movie. At the same time, you have the romance stuff with Anakin and Padme.
This is the great one with the chase scene at the beginning, right? Where there's the lady that was woke. And she's a shapeshifter or whatever. Yeah. But they followed her into this club and there was a girl in a thong. That was pretty cool.
I don't remember that, but
it's like you're right in the front, or in the back, as you know, thongs are EliteAri. Now, that scene was epic. We love that. They were in like a nightclub. Who knew they had those in Star Wars? And also, it was the greatest Star Wars planet of all time at sea. You know.
Yes, I did like the chase scene a lot. All the way from, I like the setup of it, where you've got Padme's asleep, and R2-D2 is monitoring, and then the two of them are like talking outside the room, and he's like, Anakin does the weird thing, and everyone's like, I sense it too. And they run in and like slice the thing off her neck. I'm like, this is so cool. Oh my god, Jedi is so cool. They can like precisely get like a little worm off her neck. Oh my god.
So cool.
And then everyone just jumps out the window, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. He's so cool. It's a fun chase. I don't know. It's like gags and stuff. They got a dynamic between the two of them, Anakin and Obi-Wan. I'm like, this is great.
You know what Red Letter Media said about that? They said Anakin should have been the one that chased.
I remember that. And that's like the dumbest point ever.
Obi-Wan would never do something so reckless, obviously.
Yeah, so true, because a Jedi would never do that.
No, because Anakin's a little prissy boy. You know,
it would have been better because Anakin would show his recklessness, right?
True. And Obi-Wan could have done a face palm and been like, this boy, what am I going to do about him? And that would have lit up all of the other stuff.
What if, true.
So I think they're correct.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, that chase stuff, fun. I don't know, everyone cuts an arm off. It's clearly a mirror to like the first bar scene in A New Hope, where he got someone's arm off.
True.
Isn't George Lucas so clever? We had the death sticks gag. I'm sure you laughed at that.
I don't remember at all.
He's like, do you want to buy some death sticks? And like, you don't want to sell me death sticks or whatever. I remember my life or whatever. Yeah, it's funny. Okay.
But yeah, my second note is just the city is cool, and I do like the room designs. Doesn't feel very Star Wars though. True.
So what is Star Wars to you? The original?
No cities.
Mm-hmm. True. I guess that first movie is a Star Wars movie. Okay.
Oh, and my other note is, oh no, Anakin is terrible and annoying! Exclamation mark. But we already kind of talked about this, huh?
Yeah, Anakin is.
You really are you like the only person?
Likes Anakin?
No, likes the romance dialogue.
I'm sure there's people out there. A lot of people, probably the people who say, "What's Shakespearean" or whatever, they probably defend it. I just enjoy it.
What do you enjoy about it?
I like how different it is, and how stilted it is, and how awkward it is. I like that. It feels real. I don't know. In a very awkward way, like between two very awkward people. I like it a lot. Particularly also, however, I do like the way it characterizes Anakin a little bit. Because he is a little bit awkward, but also he is like smooth at times. Like it is strangely like he has lines which are like, oh, that was like a good line.
I feel like I did. There was
I have notes on it. Don't worry.
Or he did something like that, but that was it.
He has three things. I said so he's surprisingly charming at times. One of them is a very awkward thing, which you're probably not going to agree with, but it's the scene at the beginning where they're interacting for the first time.
Oh,
and Padme's like, Annie, my goodness, you've grown, and he's like, oh, so have you. Grown more beautiful, and for Canada, I mean, and it's like so awkward and cringe, and I'm like, this is so cute. I love it so much. And the next one, this is a good one. You have to like this one. This is really good writing.
I have to like it, do I?
Yeah, absolutely. It's where they're on the fields of Naboo, right, on the grass, and they're talking about the dictatorship, whatever. Like Anakin's like, oh, that's not what I'm saying. It's the line where I think Padme's like, what do you think about like?
We should kill them all.
No, it's where Padme says like, oh, so you just hate all senators or whatever, and he's like, oh, you know,
that Palpatine's.
No, he says I like 2 or 3. One I'm not so sure about. It's like clearly talking about her.
That
like,
might have been the one that's like, oh, it's almost a little bit subtle. There's almost an implication there.
Well, it's an incredibly. You think that the dialogue has been so straightforward so far, and it subverts it where it's like, oh, you thought he was going to say. There's one I have like feelings for or whatever. And he was like, no, I have one I'm not so sure about. I'm like, that's so clever.
It's like a sarcasm.
Anakin's so smooth. Oh my god. And then there's the I don't like sand line, which I think
sand line wasn't that bad.
I think it's really good, especially in terms of like,
it wasn't even about sand or something, right?
Well, it's about the contrast between where he grew up as a slave and then the Naboo here, and as well as like comparing it to Padme, where he's like talking about smooth and whatever, and touching her back and being like smooth and. I think it's a charming line interaction between those two, specifically because they knew each other when they were on Tatooine as well, and know that Anakin's past and everything.
Yeah, that makes it's better, you know, when there was a 10-year age gap.
Yeah, I think it makes it better because it's like a shared, like they both understand what he's talking about at that moment. Yeah.
There is 2 things. Immediately, it's like, oh my god, I didn't remember or have ever noticed that Hayden Christensen looks like a 15-year-old boy in this. Which is like crazy.
He looks a lot different from the next one.
Very young, yeah.
That is, yeah.
The other thing is that I didn't realize how young Natalie Portman was in like the first movie. She's like 16 or something. So she is also young.
As far as I understand, I think she's 18. I think.
Well, I think it is 16 when she was filming. So, and I don't know.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Whatever. The thing is, immediately she's in like sexy outfits, and it was kind of funny. Like the first one was literally a backless dress. So you know, but And then the rest of them were like that too. So it was like, oh, we're doing it. The another thing I think one of the notes I have here is, addressing the age differences is something I didn't see coming, because initially she is like, you'll always be that little boy to me, Anakin. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, how the fuck are they getting around this? But that's just like addressing it, I guess, which is interesting. I just expected it to be like old movie, age difference doesn't matter. Lamau, he's a boy. But they talk about it for 1 second, so that's kind of funny.
I don't actually know if they... Because what I was going to say is that it feeds into Anakin feeling like everyone is looking down on him, right? Like the Jedi don't respect him. Even Padme is thinking of him as that little boy, so he's literally frustrated in this movie, right? Like he wants to be greater than he is perceived at the moment.
Is he frustrated with Padme in this movie?
That's what I'm not sure about, maybe. But that's one line of thing where it's like, if you use a line like that, you could imagine that frustrating him. I don't know if it is consistent.
Well, it would frustrate him because it's like, oh, now she doesn't want to be my girlfriend.
And I think it would frustrate him because it's like, I'm not still a little boy. I'm not the way Obi-Wan sees me. I'm not the way Padme
acts
sees
like
me.
a little boy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. Like he the irony of the character is that he doesn't realize that if he didn't act that way, then it would be better.
There is something funny because a lot of the time what girls like about guys, I'm an expert on it,
right,
is that they're like little boys a lot.
I have no idea.
It's like an earnestness, like, oh, it's kind of, and Anakin's kind of like the quintessential example of this, where it's like he is older and he's like an idiot, but it's like, oh, like the idiocy is like what they like, so it's like, oh, he's so cute, he's just trying to do a thing. This is usually used in like movies to be like, oh, the guy wants her to think he's cool, but there's like an automatic friction because girls don't like cool. They like the more, I don't know, I feel like it's like a go-getter boyish attitude of like, oh, I'll do it and I'll do whatever. So addressing that, and I guess you can read that into the first line about, oh, you'll always be the little boy to me. And it's also like a pre-sexual thing about like, oh, these men, you just want sex, they don't love women. Little boys, they aren't corrupted by that. So if they're like boyish, then it's sort of an attractive thing. I think this is a thing in a lot of movies, and a thing I've noticed in real life a little bit. So that is kind of funny. But if you look into like because this is another thing people say about the movie constantly is why would the great Padme? She's a senator. She's cool. Why would she like this moody, annoying, little creepy 18-year-old boy? That could explain that away, I guess. I don't know. But it is a hard thing. It is because eventually when they kiss, it is like so she's into him now type thing. Like I don't really understand, or I don't really buy it, I guess. Because it's obvious, obviously, that he wants her the whole movie. But I think they kiss, because I'm thinking about they
kiss when they're going into the arena.
That's what I'm thinking of. But don't they kiss in the grass earlier?
No.
Or are they just wrestling?
Yeah.
Wow. It's funny. Okay, yeah. Movies mixed up in my head. What was I saying?
The romance is, you don't buy it.
James.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Okay, I guess talking about Anakin.
Because we talked about this in the first recording where it was like, oh, I guess I've sort of reasoned to myself that Anakin being annoying is on purpose, so we will so we don't get too attached to him and are reminded that he's Darth Vader. And it's like, oh, he's going to be a bad guy in the end, and like paying off. It's like a payoff to that he was annoying back here. It's like, oh, he was always a little shit. But also, it does feel like a jump because like he is such that like positive little boy in the first movie, and it's like, oh, where did that guy go? And it's like, oh, he's like annoyed with the Jedi his whole life or something. And that's why he's like a little shit and annoying and stuff.
Yeah, so I have a different reading, I guess. I don't know if it is more just purely a vibes or visual thing, which it might be. I think there's a very great amount of continuity between the young Anakin and the old Anakin. Like going from 1 to 2. Yeah, to me, that's what I thought in my memory. I was like, it feels like there's a giant, they don't look similar at all. They don't like act similar at all. That's what I thought initially in my memory. But rewatching it now, I was like, oh, there's like little things that make me think like it's the same character. I don't know what those little things are.
Remember when Anakin had little friends in the first one and then they turned on him?
Yeah, like Kickster or something. And like the guy with the Greedo head, and they had little.
Kind of funny trying to tell me that literally was Greedo, and if you turn it on with subtitles, it says that little kid is Greedo.
Maybe I have no idea.
Kind kind of epic.
But yeah, basically, there's just a great amount of continuity within these movies.
Wait, we didn't say any of the continuity.
I don't know what it is. I'm just telling you. I just think I know there was. I just remembered it when I was watching. But yeah, okay. What else have I got? What do you think about? There's obviously 2 movies here with the Anakin Obi-Wan relationship. What do you think
one
about
movie.
that?
I don't know about this 2 movie thing you keep saying.
I don't even know what you mean. What does that mean?
Well,
There are episode 2 and episode 3.
Oh.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's 2 movies with an Anakin Obi-Wan relationship in them. What do you think about that relationship? Because it's important to the climax of episode 3, right? Did you buy it? Did you?
The thing is, I'm forgetting what I thought because I remember listening to Kind of Funny podcast and disagreeing with them. But I don't remember what my position was or what their position was. So in this one, he's like shaking his finger at Anakin a lot. He's like, "Oh, you idiot." There is, and this is another Red Letter Media talking point at the end, is like, oh, why would Obi-Wan take on Anakin? They have like no relationship. They've talked twice, which could be seen as a weakness if the movies are supposed to be like, oh, it's the journey of their friendship or something.
I think it clearly is meant to be, yeah. Like, I think you're meant to be upset by the speech everyone gives in episode 3, where it's like, my brother Anakin, you're meant to believe that.
I think I kind of believed it at the end. I guess I don't really care about their relationship. I believed that Obi-Wan cared about it. I don't know, what do they even do in this movie except the beginning part together? Aren't they apart the whole time?
I mean, it is mostly that beginning part.
No, it's cool at the end when he's like, oh, we came to save you, and he's like, good job, or something like that. That was funny. So yeah, they're great. They're the best in pals. That was a funny line.
True. Obi-Wan is a good character, funny.
Obi-Wan is generally likable, and I feel like I didn't feel that while watching it, but in retrospect, I definitely feel that. But I feel like a lot of that is the Revenge of the Sith stuff. He's just like a one-man machine going through everything, and he's got his lizard pal, and he's calling up a wall, and he gets turned on, but he still soldiers on, and then he gets back, and he's going to save everybody, and then he's doing his lame pose as he's about to walk out. I don't know, that Obi-Wan, he's pretty cool. And he's got a cool voice.
I think it is. That is another talking point I'm sure you've probably heard, which is that all the acting in the prequels is bad, except Palpatine, who's like kind of over the top and hammy, and people love that. And of course, Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan, he is a part and above with love, but anyone else in his great.
He was in that first movie, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, but in these next 2,
where Qui-Gon was there.
True.
Wrote Padme.
Yeah. But okay, relationship, who knows, interesting. So another thing which is very important to this movie particularly is the slow transition of Anakin to Vader, right? This is like obviously the pivotal moment where it's like he's killing all the younglings and stuff. He actually, he's upset by the death of his mother. We've jumped a lot, like a large amount, yeah.
Well, I thought you were talking about the Jedi young.
Did I say youngling? Maybe I did. Sorry, the young like kids and women and children and all that. And obviously this is like seeding all of the issues in the next movie with his death of Padme. He's like, I'm not going to let it happen again with what happened with my mum. So this is all the foundation.
The mum stuff I buy. The killing the kids and the women or whatever is like whatever.
Of the Sand People.
Yeah. I guess that's like something a hero could do, and it could be like a fake moment of trying to do moral ambiguity. Like in a different story where it is sort of just a straightforward antagonist against it, but then I don't know, it's like Ender's Game or something, or I think Dune is like this when it's later. I don't know if it's happened in the movies. I don't know if I'm spoiling you. I don't know anything about Dune.
What are you talking about?
Well, it's like
not in Dune.
The hero. Yeah. I think I don't know. I don't want to say it's like what's a hero? Like a straightforward hero that does something bad in the movie, but it's like
Jon Snow.
Yeah, Jon Snow killing Ollie is like is that his name?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a genius. Is like that thing where it's like, man, he killed the kid, what the hell? And it's supposed to be like, man, is Jon Snow a darker version of himself now that he's back? But obviously Game of Thrones sucks. It doesn't go anywhere. That is like the perfect example. So you can like rationalize it. And I think I did in the moment. I was like, oh, whatever. We're just doing this fake shit. Now, obviously, it's like the whole conceit of these 3 movies is that he's going to be the bad guy in the end. But the mother shit, I don't think it did in the moment. In Attack of the Clones, I don't think I was thinking at all about him being Vader or whatever. But obviously when it comes to his like anxiety, because the mother scene is sad. She's like chained up and dying.
Yeah.
And tortured and stuff. And Jabba the Hutt wasn't raping, but I don't know about these sand people. So when that is called back upon like his anxiety, what's that word? Anxieties in the next song with Padme is, I think it works really well there.
Okay.
So he's sad about his mom.
Yep. I think about the Sand People thing. It is. I can understand why you would
Their actual name.
the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
But they call them Sand People in the thing, so I think that is their name. But he. Well, I can understand why you would excuse it initially, because when he leaves, you don't see him kill any
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
And then the reveal is later that he killed them.
I think it's worse. It's worse when we see the massacre of the little Sand People in a New Hope. Like, remember the stormtroopers? They killed them?
That's true.
That I would be like, that's fucked up, man. Why'd you kill? They have little funny noises. We heard the noises at some point in this thingy, and I was very happy about it.
Very true. Okay, well there we go. The slow tone debater. What have I actually got on there?
What about me?
Wait a
me?
minute. The death of his mother. We talked about that. Oh, the music I really like. I don't know what the theme is, but it like builds up very well. I'm sure you don't remember it, but
I remember.
After she dies, it's like a very peaceful kind of thing, and then it gets really intense, and it's like John Williams, isn't he just great?
He sucks. Yeah, he's that guy that did Evangelion. I'll tell you that.
Now, wait. Another thing about the Anakin turn, though, the more important thing in this movie, which is what I was hinting at before, is his feeling. It is kind of a mix of like the expectations of being a Jedi and the fact that he has such a big ego that he thinks he is the greatest. Like he has the conflicting feelings, I guess, of actually having a lot of power, at like a justifiable amount of ego, I guess, but also at the same time having to follow the ways of the Jedi. And it's like, I could do so much more if I wasn't constricted by the way that they act, you know?
This thematic thing we were supposed to bring up that I forgot, that I had a vague, I forgot something. So we'll go back to that. Also, why do they set him up to be like the strongest when he's not the strongest at all?
He is the strongest. What do you
mean? The Emperor is way stronger in Return of the Jedi, right?
In what way?
He just zaps him and he's not killed him. Well, when he's not looking and after he's already been fucked up.
He is holding him for like 3 minutes. What do you mean?
Well, no, but Vader's on the ground like after he zaps him one time, right? Maybe he doesn't zap him until afterwards, until he's being picked up, right?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I don't know. Well, Luke beats the fuck out of Vader. Oh, I guess Vader wasn't trying, right?
And Vader's also lost an arm and 2 legs and like, I guess all arms and all legs. And he's like,
so you're saying Anakin is stronger than Darth Vader.
But even then, I think Vader's pretty strong. But Luke is probably stronger than Vader. But Anakin is probably stronger than Luke.
But like Obi-Wan beat him. Easy.
Yeah, I guess I would... My justification of that would be that either particularly Obi-Wan is his master, so it's probably the closest thing, and it was a close fight, and it was like... probably
Obi-Wan didn't even lose a finger.
Yeah, Anakin probably would have gotten stronger over time as well.
Yeah, but like... maybe this is just original trilogy stuff where it's like, and this is the problem. It's like, he didn't, like, he does seem scary, but like, this is another thing with the Tarkin thing at the end where it's like, why is Vader ever taking orders from this idiot when you'd think Tarkin would have been in these movies or something?
He was.
Yeah, for one shot at the end. But I always...
in the Clone Wars, a lot.
this is probably where I'm like EliteAri's Clone Wars brain over here by thinking Vader is like strong. I feel like the strongest Vader ever looks on screen, and this doesn't even make any sense, is that Rogue One scene, but he's just beating up nobodies. So, that's the...
Yeah, because the strongest he actually looks like in canon or whatever is probably in Star Wars Rebels, where he's fighting Ahsoka. Or, not Ahsoka, when he's fighting Kanan and...
the great
Ezra.
Kanan and Ezra.
That's probably the strongest he comes across, but... Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Vader is very strong. I think Anakin...
It feels weird because there's never any implication that Luke is like the strongest guy.
Was the only guy that makes him feel strong.
Well, I don't know. It's not like, he's got... Maybe they...
you haven't seen The Last Jedi. Yeah, okay.
Oh, crazy. And it never, like, I guess the original trilogy doesn't really have a power scaling, like, anything indicating like, it's just like you got to finish the training and then you can do it. Whereas this movie is trying to do it with the metachlorians thing, which we didn't talk about, which was, I guess, only in the first one. Doesn't really matter. Who cares? But that's obviously a famous thing everybody makes fun of.
Well, it's in the third one too, but yeah, sure.
Impossible, I don't remember.
He influenced the midichlorians to create life. That's what Palpatine says in...
I thought they said that in the first movie.
No.
They just imply that.
Yeah.
They do say that, like, the Force... Okay, yeah. What was I saying? Obi-Wan beats up the great General Grievous. He's got 4 hands and 4 lightsabers. Darth Vader doesn't do shit. Huh?
Isn't it the Force? Yeah, Grievous is just some guy. He's just a human with, like, robot arms.
Well, Obi-Wan had more trouble beating him than the shitty Darth Vader.
I don't even think that's true.
He did.
The fight was, like, so long on Mustafar.
He had to chase General Grievous down.
Because he was running away.
It's funny, Anakin, this does beat Dooku at the beginning. Didn't buy that, the great Count Dooku is way stronger than shitty Darth Vader.
Yeah. It is. I'm just curious though, because I know a lot of people think Luke is the strongest. I don't remember.
Well, you'd probably have to think that, right? If you're doing, it's like the feats thing in the power scaling communities. Like,
I just realized.
Beat Darth Vader, so he has to be strong.
No, I just realized they think.
But the Emperor beat him up in like 1 second.
No, I just realized it has to be. They think Luke is the strongest because of the prequels, because of the Chosen One prophecy. He will bring balance to the world.
They think he's the real one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas obviously it's Anakin, right? I mean, in my opinion, it's obviously Anakin, but I guess we could talk about it in Revenge of the Sith.
Because there's two on each side at the end.
Huh?
Because there's a balance between the Sith and the Jedi.
Oh no!
There's a whole
Obi-Wan. No, there's a whole.
No, there's technically 4.
No, it has nothing to do. It depends if you believe George Lucas or not, or if you care about it. But I think balance is meant to be when the good is in power. It is a balance, as in the dark side is tipping the balances in the wrong way, and it's meant to return to the good side. There's no gray or whatever, but maybe we'll see when we get to the Last Jedi that.
So let's just talk about the dumb Force thing now. Then the Jedi are evil, right? EliteAri.
The Jedi, well, it's hard.
They're just restrictive and religious, right? They're just.
Unironically, we should probably save this for the Last Jedi. I mean, we can talk about it a little bit.
I guess Jedi got to say this doesn't count. It doesn't exist.
It has so much to say about it, but you talk about it, and I can say what I can.
The great vision of George Lucas, who properly understands the Force and invented it.
True.
Do I sound like the great Star Wars theory right now?
Yeah, and if we cared about that, we'd watch the Clone Wars, where he explored.
No, he didn't have anything to do with them shitty cartoon.
He did, and you can see behind the scenes stuff where he's requesting.
Then why is it good?
Because there was a showrunner that was in charge of it, and George Lucas just told him what to do.
But you like these great George Lucas movies. Why'd you just cuck out?
Because the Clone Wars is better than these movies. It has to be, I think. The Clone Wars even goes into Revenge of the Sith timelines, and it like makes the movie better. Undeniably, the Clone Wars does, unironically, and I feel like everyone would have to agree, make the Anakin-Obi-Wan relationship Bible. Like, it is much better. Not Bible, but
I think I would be annoyed that they were trying to retcon things. You know?
I mean, Anakin just sounds completely different. He just sounds...
That is very funny.
Yeah, he sounds completely like a hero or whatever, like a stereotypical hero character in this Clone Wars series. Whereas in this, he sounds like very...
All the voices would be different, right?
No, like almost...
Samuel L. Jackson did a cartoon, is that what you're telling me?
He did, in the movie.
There ain't no shot.
But also, they recast him for the show, but he sounds very, like, good enough. Like, you would be like, that's Mace Windu, obviously. But also, things like Obi-Wan and Padme, these all sound very similar to the movies. Only Anakin really has changed. Which is an interesting choice, right?
I can't believe there's a movie.
Yeah, there is, yeah. We're going to watch it. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. We're not sure if we're going to watch it, but...
I'm watching The Force Awakens next, I'll tell you that much. I'm so excited.
Well, I think if we're watching chronologically, the Clone Wars movie does come out next.
I'm not watching Rogue One. Though I might, though. It's Solo. Yeah.
All right. Yes, go ahead. About the Force, you want to talk about?
The Force, the Jedi, they're the bad guys, they're oppressive, just like the society in which the great Nosferatu girl lives in that we just talked about. But they're like, but in the end, they're always portrayed as like gonna beat up the bad guys. So I don't know. What are we saying about the Force? Is the Force to blame for Anakin's turn because they try to restrict you from ever looking into the dark side? Would a proper good guy be somebody who understands the dark side and the bad side? What even is the dark side? Is Kylo Ren going to be set up to be this, where he's going to have the good and the bad? I think he just ends up being a bad guy. I think they kissed. I can't wait for that. Now, I don't know. And then there's like the whole other thing besides, it's like, what is the Force a good thing? And then it's like, Obi-Wan is kind of portrayed as the good guy, but he's so restrictive to the rules. So then what was the point of Qui-Gon's character? Wasn't he supposed to, shouldn't Obi-Wan have been less stingent or something afterwards? I guess, and this also, because we had this discussion with our first discussion, where it was like, oh, did Luke do the right thing by not listening to the Jedi guys? And that kind of could be a payoff to this, of like, Luke does do his own thing and he will like be with his friends more. But Luke doesn't have a girlfriend, at least as far as I know. So is he still being a little cuck boy?
Well, if we're just talking about
the great Leia is a Jedi. She forced something out of a goddamn thing, and she's got a boyfriend.
Yeah, if we're talking about if we're talking about the original trilogy, I think it is pretty clear, and we probably talked about this, that at the end, Luke wins because of his dad. His love his dad had for him is what saves him in the end. Like, he picks up Palpatine, throws him off the edge, and that, because of that, the Death Star blows up and everything, right? And he gets out of there. So it is portrayed as like Luke made the right choice here to try and save his dad.
Well, I'm thinking more with Empire, right? Not Return of the Jedi.
Well, I think it's an extension of like, in that first case, it's like, yeah, I think it is like, Luke is steadfast in his love for the people around him.
He wants his
consistently.
friends.
And that is, in the end, what leads him to have the people around him that are able to help him to win in the end. Like, without Han and Leia, the Death Star would never have blown up.
True,
and without Vader,
down.
Palpatine would never have been destroyed. So it's like the people around him that love him are what lead to his ultimate success. So the attachment, which is the thing that the Jedi hate, is what saves him in the end. It's the attachment to the people around him. So I think, pretty unambiguously, I think the Jedi are proven wrong in their disdain for attachment.
In that one.
In the original trilogy, yeah.
In this one, Vader is downfall, I guess you could say, was Padme.
Downfall.
He liked her, so he made him evil because he wanted to save her.
Exactly, yeah. His like paranoia of the dream of like having to save Padme is what.
So do we have contradicting themes here, or are we just saying that the Luke one is the real one and this is just the prequel nonsense and setting up that one? So it's part of that thematic stuff. Or is it that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and the Force doesn't really matter?
Yeah, I like that one. But I don't know, maybe. It could be, it is a thing of like, because there is I don't know if you want to talk about Revenge of the Sith, but there is a thing in Revenge of the Sith, which is a fantastic scene that I love, which is Anakin is having his dreams about like Padme dying, and he's obviously struggling about it a lot, and he goes to Yoda. And they have a scene together where they're meditating together, and Yoda gives like this empty platitude about like, let go of the people you love, and Anakin just takes nothing from it because it's like it's useless to him. Like he wants to save Padme. How is this useless advice to help him?
Because there's a theme in stories, and I know it annoys you and it annoys me a lot of the time, where it's like the theme seems to always be that being like a normal person is correct. It's like, because obviously the Jedi aren't very normal; they're very disciplined monk type people, and they like, oh, you should just, your girlfriend's dying, move on, she's attached to death. There's other things where it's like almost always, like bringing somebody back to life. Like that's like something the bad guy does, and then it's not really like her, like the bad guy, he loved this girl, and then he wanted to bring her back to life. So he constructed this evil plan, or, and it's like, no, you gotta let her die and move on. Because you got to move on, because you got to deal with grief, and that's part of the human condition. Or like whenever the ending is an Evangelion or a Naruto thing, we're going to create like a fake fantasy world, like AI, where we can all plug in and we're all nice to each other. But no, the thing is, you have to live through life as we all live through life and continue on. And the message is supposed to be like a positive one of like, oh, don't kill yourself or whatever. It sort of feels like that, where it's like there's not really an argument. It's just like, well, obviously Yoda's saying the wrong thing here because that sounds crazy to like an audience. Like everybody's going to be like, obviously, and it's different from like it's like appealing to the sensibilities of the audience to like reinforce it, I guess. Then obviously there's stories that try to like do the antithesis of that, like Vinland Saga or something, where somebody's instincts would be like vengeful a lot of the time, but vengeance is bad or something. So that's like a challenging theme versus a sort of reinforcing theme. Obviously, you could have different people who would be like, stories challenge you, and that's like a defining thing. Where was I going with this, Larry? Force something reinforcing. Themes or something, forcing or something, Yoda or something.
Yeah, Anakin and the Force. You were talking about whether it is just proven to be wrong and correct at the same time.
Yeah, because it seems to be going in different directions.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember my fucking conclusion. It does, but there's also a destiny, because a lot of the time destiny is another theme like that, where it's like, oh no, you can, like, you have the power, or it's like, what's the opposite of determinism? Is it existentialism?
Is there an opposite?
It's just the one where we know free will. It's just that you have free will, and you can do it or whatever. And sometimes, okay, this is where I was going. And the believing in your friends is like a good moral is one of these themes too, right? And that's like what we seem to be doubling down on in the original trilogy. Which if we're talking about themes as messages, and like that's obviously like a bad message, right? Like believing in your friends isn't going to necessarily come to a good outcome or something like that.
What is something that would?
Like nothing, or like being well prepared for your environment or something could be like a good message. But even then, maybe if you weren't prepared for specific situations, that would be better or something. I guess part of that is the point that there isn't like these thematic rules to life where you should always, I guess like the closest thing is like the golden rule or whatever, where it's like do unto others as you want done unto you. It's like, oh, be nice. But even then, obviously that has pitfalls, and there's philosophy hasn't been solved as far as I'm understand, EliteAri.
These are just heuristics, and heuristics work for, you want one that works most of the time. Believing in your friends or whatever, most of the time is probably going to help you. Not all the time.
I feel like it's never helped me once.
Well, your anecdotal experience contradicts mine, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. I don't trust any of these idiots. But then cynical stories usually take the exact opposite. Like if you look at something like The Sopranos, like it's kind of making fun of that theme the whole time, where it's just like, no, everybody will like shit talk you behind your back or whatever, and that's like the nature of people.
Which is not true, right?
It's obviously true.
No, it's obviously not true. I would say in the same way that the other one is not true, this one is also not true.
I know I'm being dramatic. The the friend thing, where was I going with this? The message, because we're kind of chastising the Jedi for being a bad message, and then they're kind of being portrayed as the good guys, kind of.
It's not even necessarily no. It's not even their message that is necessarily bad. It's it's how rigidly they stick to it, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But there is like wiggle room, right? If we were to put this on a chart, like is Yoda the most devout one, and then Obi-Wan's kind of there, and then Luke is in the middle or something? But I don't know, because I guess a lot of that matters to like what Luke does afterwards. But that's like a whole different story, right? And he's like cynical or something, and Luke wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, exactly. So at this point, having seen these 6 movies, people would come to a very strong conclusion about Luke, and then watch a movie where this is the question of the entire movie and be like, this either agrees consistently.
It's obviously a very interesting question. It's like the only interesting question.
Rian Johnson is a dude.
Who is a very boring character, so who cares? Because I guess if these are the only 6 movies that exist, you would kind of, I guess, you wouldn't have to, but I would have to just go, well, this is just like this isn't, you're not supposed to take an overall theme from these 3 movies. Just that, like it's just the first part of the 6 movies, and obviously the Luke stuff is the thematic stuff you should idolize or something, which is just like, generally he's just like, be a nice guy, right? And help your friends when they're in danger.
Yeah, now there is probably something, I honestly haven't thought much about themes in Star Wars, but Anakin's story goes through the original trilogy, and he is the one at the end that saves Luke, right?
In broad strokes, it does. We've talked about like how they don't feel like
you have
the same character.
for the thematic analysis, you have to believe that it's the same character, right? You have to just assume it is.
Yeah, or you could just say that there is no good thematic thing because these movies are completely different.
Yeah, but assuming that's forgetting that
episodes.
If you assume that they're the same character, then what does Vader learn? I guess I don't know.
Well, that's pretty easy. Like he it's kind of just like the guts thing, right? He's like, oh, he's got people he cares about, and then he loses them, which makes him very sad. But then he has an opportunity to get them again, and in his last desperate moments, he embraces like that he likes people again, and then he dies a somewhat redemptive death. So it's like you should still love people even at the end.
Okay, well, here we go.
God, it would have been cooler if he didn't die in it.
True.
Had a scene with Princess Leia, the great Princess Leia.
Well, he got one, and then you hope. All right. That's all he needed.
Or he acts like he has no idea what this, which maybe
he doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they do say that at the end. That's funny.
Okay. Anything else? Because I got Count Dooku.
Well, I got a million things that I want to bring up at the beginning called The Decoy is Killed So Quickly, which I think has to do with the girl.
True. She is killed very quickly.
I think Palpatine being behind everything hurts the plot a lot. We already talked about that. Addressing the age difference I didn't see coming. Star Wars is good with plot threads and not speeding into them. Having small, secluded story to begin with, then flashing the other characters. True. Ensembles are really cool, EliteAri. This is always my favorite thing whenever you start a new season of a long-running show. You start in Mad Men Season 4, and you start with Roger, Don, and Pete, and they have a whole little thing for like 11 minutes before you see the great Peggy Olsen. And then you're like, oh my God, look at Peggy, look at the new office, look at how everything's changed. Every movie with this, we're starting with some characters, and you're like, oh, when is the great Padme going to show up? And it takes a little while, and it keeps you on edge, and it's very investing at the beginning. So it's good. Star Wars is good at that.
It is.
What a point.
Yes, very point. You're praising Star Wars. I love it. Yeah.
Yoda is supposed to be a dumb hermit teacher, not the strongest guy. True, I was like mad that
Why do you
Yoda
think
was
that?
strong. Because in the original trilogy, that's the vibe I got.
Okay.
And he doesn't have a lightsaber. What are you, stupid? Just like the Emperor obviously doesn't have a lightsaber.
It is funny to think about, like, going into the original trilogy. If that was all you ever knew, do Jedis have? Is that like a thing all Jedis have? Like, the Jedis have a lightsaber?
They say the Jedi weapon, the lightsaber.
Yeah, they probably do.
But I feel like...
But I think they say, no, I think they specifically say Jedi Knight, right?
Oh,
like,
is there a difference?
No, there isn't. But maybe at that time, if you only knew that trilogy, you'd think, oh, maybe Yoda wasn't a Jedi Knight. Maybe he was like a Jedi, like, seer.
He's a Jedi priestess.
Yeah.
He just knows the Force and the Force and the Force.
Yeah.
Also, Yoda got real old real quick, huh? He's just dying in 20 years. Didn't seem like he was dying.
Yeah.
But he's 800 years old.
Maybe he gave up the will to live or something, you know? I don't know.
It's very sad.
Yeah, well, it's not because he lives in the afterlife, right? He comes back. Death in his body is not attached to it, you know? Now, it's just like midichlorians. What is
She knows she's going to be in one of these visions in these sequels or something, or in one of these TV shows. The great Padme gets to live on forever.
True. She's in a VR Vader Immortal game that you can play. Where actually, I don't know if she's there, but I think
Is he killing people and then he has sad flashbacks to his wife? Oh, that's
maybe.
cute.
Yeah. Okay, next up, go ahead.
I want to play table tennis. All right. In these movies, if these movies were more Anakin, if these movies were more modern, Anakin would be an assaulter. I think I'm a rapist. It's very funny because if there was a character introduced in a modern movie that did all these things Anakin did, I would absolutely assume with my berserk brain that like this is ending in a rape scene. I
mean, to me, it comes
because he's just creepy. That's really it.
To me, he comes across as more sociopathic. That's the way he comes across to me, where it's like he doesn't seem to understand other people very well, and it's like he just thinks about himself a lot. That's the way I read it.
Maybe it's just like he's literally tripping over every like trope we now like associate with like a toxic boy or whatever. It's like the overly compliments, the trying to touch her all the time, the trying to kiss her all the time, the not taking no for an answer all the time. It's just like, oh, this is funny. This is just a different time.
Yeah.
I got 2 more notes, Leary. Can you believe it? Republics and constitutions and term limits. I think we must have already talked about this with the Rome thing and how it's the same democracy. So, what the fuck is R2-D2 doing here? He's only creating problems. This is me being mad at the droids are in this at all. And that's all my notes.
That was funny. What do you mean? He pushed C-3PO off the edge because he hates them.
Well, that's okay, but he didn't do anything. Just like the great R2-D2 would. He would save the day every time like he did in the great original trilogy.
True. Did he not give them the lightsabers?
I don't care, Leary. He was barely in it.
I mean, he also did that in the original trilogy, right? With Luke? Yeah.
Yes.
That was like his whole role in the last movie.
He was like a little shooter guy, remember? He was Luke couldn't do nothing without him.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, don't you have other notes about this?
Yeah, on Count Dooku. Oh my god.
The great Count Dooku, the greatest character in these movies.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you think about him as a character?
He's so cool. He's Christopher Lee, so he sounds cool.
True.
And he's monologuing. Oh, this is another thing I was going to bring up. He was almost a good character. Because it was like, because he's introduced, and obviously I've heard of Count Dooku, I know he's like a bad guy. And he's introduced as like the rogue Jedi that knows that Palpatine's doing shit. And like that fake out at the beginning, I was like, this is the greatest thing of all time. He's like a good guy, but we just don't know it. And like Obi-Wan's going to kill him or something. And he's not going to understand that he was right the whole time. But then he was just a bad guy.
Was he? Interesting.
Well, he seems to look when he dies in the next movie, also terrible. You know, they cucked him. He was the strongest of all time. And then Anakin beats him in 2 swings or something. He did like chop his arms off. That was pretty epic. And then he decapitate him. And you're trying to tell me this isn't epic.
See the head bounce? Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah.
And that's when he says, do it. I thought it was like later. But that was just my imagination. That was a meme when I was in high school. The great do it.
Yes, Dooku, bad character.
Oh yeah, he sucks. He's just a bad guy in the end. He's a Sith guy. It's even slight. No, I think by the end they have like confirmed that he is working with Palpatine or whatever. I don't think they ever outrightly confirm it, but you get that impression by the end of even the second movie. Because I was going to say,
well, they're standing next to each other at the end.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. But what is the bad stuff he does in this movie? Like, well, the Jedi, right? What else does he do?
Yes.
I mean, he is obviously opposed to the Jedi ideologically.
I guess he doesn't do it. It was like more is the character actually doing this? It's not like, does he do a bad thing? Because obviously he's portrayed as a bad guy because the heroes are fighting at the end.
Okay, now I don't even know. I was going to say I'm also poisoned by like Tales of the Empire and stuff. But he is portrayed, it's like a more modern Clone Wars remake thing where it's like you followed Count Dooku when he's younger. like training Qui-Gon and everything.
True, he was Qui-Gon's guy.
Yeah.
And
but
then,
you see what led him to what he is at the moment, which is really, it is very good. I gave it like a 5 out of 5 in my media digest. I really liked it. But I think he is portrayed as an antagonist in this movie. And maybe it's weird because it is, if you have a very simple view of Star Wars, which you probably should because it is a very simple franchise, he does come across as a villain because he is an antagonist.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have a malicious kind of, explicitly malicious motivations like Palpatine does, I guess.
but he's like, especially in the next one, he's like giggling all evil and shit. And it's like, oh, okay.
But in a fight against Jedi. Like every confrontation he has is with Jedi.
There is a moment where he's fighting, I think at the end of this one, where it is cool and he's like not, like basically what I'm waiting for him to do is for him to taunt them unnecessarily. Like, I'm going to fucking kill your brother, bitch, and do this. And I feel like he did slightly have some things like that, but you almost get out of it in this one, but in the next one you couldn't, where it's like, you're come too slow, Obi-Wan, or something.
The most interesting scene in this movie is definitely the scene he has with Obi-Wan, where Obi-Wan is captured and he walks in and is like, oh, I can't believe he restrained you like this or whatever. And he's talking, he basically, I
think that was the scene where it went bad because I was like, oh, it's obvious that they're trying to play him up as like trying to manipulate Obi-Wan. I'm like, oh, so he is just like
So what makes you think that he's manipulating Obi-Wan in that?
Well, he's just like overly, it's like the way it's acted. It's like it's overly, like we're supposed to understand, we're supposed to like, our mindset right now is supposed to be, don't trust him, Obi-Wan. Because it's like the dramatic irony of like, oh.
But we know he's telling the truth in that scene.
Yeah, but it's all in the tone. It's not anything he says. It's just like the way it's acted is like obvious that this is set up for like, it's not obvious, I guess, but I'm just...
Set up for what?
That he's like the bad guy in the end.
But how is... I don't understand. How was he proved to be the bad guy in the end is what I'm trying to...
Well, because he's giggling.
At what? Like when he's killing the Jedi, right?
Or something towards the end. I don't remember, because you're saying he has a scene with Palpatine at the end.
Yeah. Okay, because in my reading of the scene is that this is like it seems like an earnest attempt to get Obi-Wan on his side because he feels like he is cornered because of Sidious. That's the way he comes across. Well, he's like, there is a.
Isn't he trying to sell that? So he doesn't know the Emperor is Sidious.
No, he knows that the Emperor is Sidious, and that's what he's telling. But
he's in league with him, right?
He is in league with him.
Yes.
The implication of him trying to recruit Obi-Wan is that he doesn't want to be in league with Sidious. He's going into that scene to Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan is Qui-Gon's apprentice, and Qui-Gon was his Padawan.
It was funny. They did the whole thing where it was like the whole line, and you could track.
Yeah, exactly.
Mace Windu wasn't in the line, I don't think.
Of what?
Well, it was like Anakin, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Count Dooku, Emperor, right?
Yoda would be above. Like, you mean who trained who?
Yeah.
It'd be Yoda would train Dooku, which would train Qui-Gon, which would train Obi-Wan.
But at some point...
And they fight. Like, Yoda fights Dooku.
But at some point the Emperor does say, like, oh, Count Dooku was my Padawan or something. But I guess he probably means, like, he's just a Sith?
He would be his apprentice, maybe. He had an apprentice. Yeah, there's always two apprentices, like a master and an apprentice or whatever in Sith.
But that... okay, yeah.
Yeah, but the point here, what I'm trying to say is that he comes across and he pleads. He says, oh, I'm so sad to hear about Qui-Gon, which seems like an earnest thing. And then he's talking about...
But he's like, oh, that's unfortunate. Like a bad guy, I think.
Or like a very stoic old man, which he is. Like who is obviously was a Jedi, who was very stoic, but is now strayed away from it because he thinks they're doing wrong stuff.
I guess this would be fleshed out in other things. So
this is just my reading.
Well, no. There's a specific point about him originally ever being like an actual Jedi, and he wasn't just like sneaking around the whole time, like as
he would try
the Emperor.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a bad guy.
Yeah, there's multiple readings you could have. This is just my one based on the other stuff I've seen. But basically, he goes into this scene, tells Obi-Wan everything, tells him there's like a Sith in charge of the Senate and everything. He does. And he asks for his help.
But I felt like that was just like the Emperor wants him to leak that there's a guy in control of the Senate to like do
add more suspicion or whatever. Yeah, like the paranoia. Yeah. It's a fine reading of it. I just don't take that reading, I guess. Because the thing is, I guess it also depends on if you think a Sith is inherently evil. Because he is the
seems like it. Well, I guess Darth Vader there's still good in him.
Yeah, because what he is trying to do in that scene is betray his master, right? Which is a deceptive thing to do, which is a bad thing.
I don't know if I believe this.
Yeah, I mean, in my reading, that's what he's doing, though. I don't know. Interesting. I think he's an interesting villain.
I think he was still good by the end. It was just like, oh, well, this is Star Wars. They're not going to do anything too interesting with this like moral ambiguity stuff. I guess the most interesting thing they do is with like Yoda, when Yoda's a bad guy. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would be a much cooler creative decision to just be like, for him to play into like the tragedy of it all of like, oh, he was actually right the whole time. Because like, That is another thing, and I think this might have been brought up in a Red Letter Media video or something, where it's like, oh, the original 3 trilogy is supposed to be a tragedy, because the main guy is the bad guy in the end, and everybody dies, and something. And that kind of plays into that. But it's not like a tragedy that Count Dooku dies. It's like funny. He gives the Emperor a look when he realizes he got turned on in the next one, which was cool because I don't think. No, I guess I'm wrong because you're saying they had a scene where they were posing together. I was like, I didn't know if it was ever explicitly confirmed that they were on the same side or that's just something you're supposed to subtly pick up, but I guess not.
There's a few things also. I'm sure they mentioned this explicitly, but they say that the oh boy, am I going to remember the details? We can talk about the clone army stuff because there was the Jedi Master Cypher Diaz requested blah 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 whatever.
But he died 10 years ago.
Yeah, but then. Oh, I don't remember. There was something about Darth Tyrannus mentioned, and that's his name. Yeah. So there's an implication that he's been working with Palpatine for quite a while. I don't know.
It's also that he has a red lightsaber, right?
Well, he's a Sith, so I mean, his master probably gave it to him. But yeah, I mean, now just to say, Dooku is basically the primary antagonist of the Clone Wars series. Yeah. So he is obviously a massive. We get a lot of Dooku in that. And we get a lot of episodes where Dooku is kind of the protagonist, where you're like following him as well, which is kind of interesting.
I was waiting for a moment where now I guess this isn't how it works, but I was waiting for like when Anakin whips out his lightsaber to kill those kids, it's like red or something, or like turns from blue to red. Or
there's fan edits at the final fight where it goes from blue to red.
We love the bands.
Yeah,
but it doesn't happen because you have to build one for a certain color, I guess.
In canon, you're the crystal determines. I have no idea.
Crystals.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's games, there's like stories like written in canon. I don't know. It's like a various.
In my Star Wars MMO, my lightsaber would be yellow because we haven't seen that one yet, and I want to be cute and unique.
True.
What color is Ahsoka's, EliteAri? Is it yellow?
Depends on how old she is at the time. I guess.
Is she a bad guy because she's like in love with Anakin or something?
It's an interesting question.
I saw one scene in a Mauler video, remember? And Hayden Christensen was in it.
Okay. So I guess if we're just going to talk about Dooku for now, what about the fight? You had a big fight?
Dookie. His name sounds like Pooh.
Yep.
Pooey is the great Jar Jar.
What did you think about the fight with Dooku then? We talked that a little bit. The
one at the end, do I remember anything from it? I think he was holding up like a big plank or a big tower or something, like a pillar with his horse, or maybe that was Obi-Wan or something.
He like moved it and then he also crumbled the ceiling and stuff. I don't know.
Maybe I remember this. It is funny that Yoda showed up and didn't beat him. He just ran away. That was kind of cool.
Well, he like beat him to a stalemate, whereas like anything he did, he would return back to him, and he just ran away at the end. But yeah.
So you're saying Yoda wasn't even trying?
Well, it seemed that Yoda was able to counter everything, and he never like.
So Yoda does flip the EliteAri. Is that funny or cool?
I think it's the coolest thing ever. Yeah, because it's like a little version of like, who's little guy? Oh my god, he can't fight. How can he possibly beat Count Dooku? And then he does, and I was like, wow, that's crazy.
No, they tied.
True.
I don't remember anything else. I think Anakin got beat up real quick, right? But
Anakin has a cool theme with a light off, and then he has 2 lightsabers, and he's fighting with them.
Everybody I've heard say something about this, it's literally like a shot for 3 seconds.
Yep.
That's retarded. Who cares about this?
I mean, yeah. You wouldn't care about that. I was thinking like, oh yeah, but so like in anime, oh my god, look what Saku guy is like 3 seconds long is like the coolest thing in the episode. But you don't care about that. So
anime sucks. Yeah. I hate anime. Manga is what I like.
But yeah, I think the fight was pretty good. I enjoyed it. But Anakin does lose his hand. It's pretty crazy.
There are Naruto fights, I'll tell you that much.
Yep. The first with 2 hands and 2 legs. It's kind of crazy. But the only other thing I wanted to talk about is the factory scene. There's a whole scene where they're just running through a factory, and I found it fun. But I mean,
it's very when Padme's in that thing, and she's in like the what do you call it? The pot.
Yep.
And the bit of lava is going to come in. That's like the scariest thing that's ever happened to a human being.
Yep.
The factories are very existentially scary to me. It's like there's a lot going on, and there's probably not a way to stop it fast if you fall into it.
Yep.
At work, we have a compactor EliteAri, so compacts the thing, and there's big bars on it. But every time you go there, you're like, what if
bars are dangerous?
What if I just fell in, EliteAri, and how I would have like 3 seconds to jump up and press the emergency button on the outside? Could I do it? I don't know. Am I going to get crushed to death?
Yep.
So that's like a very minimal factory thing. That's just a thing that goes.
Yep. This one's got like slicing things and like smashing things.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So factories are scary, and certainly here it was towards the end, and it's like Jesus fucking Christ. But
I loved it.
I feel like there is. I Padme's the best character as we've established. Now, obviously, she's not too good when she's having to deal with this fucking little 18-year-old boy toy. But when they're on the move and stuff, first of all, her outfit's really cool. She's like...
She wears a lot of outfits in this, but yeah.
No, the one at the end where she's fighting, that one's really cool.
Yeah.
So all the fighting stuff was cool, I think, when she was like out here and she was saving the day, and maybe Anakin saved her once, so I'm not going to give him that much credit. C-3PO's head gets chopped off EliteAri and put on a droid body.
It's funny, yeah. I like it a lot, yeah. And then R2-D2 saves him in the end by pulling it off and putting it back on.
Decapitating him again.
Yep.
And the droid gets put on that body and is doing a funny thing or something.
Yep. George Lucas is a comedic genius.
He is.
Yeah, at times at least. Yeah, factory scene, kind of crazy. Also, if you watch the behind the scenes, it's just like a giant green screen. There's like not a single practical thing. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Impressively so, because it looks pretty good. Anyway, I have just a few miscellaneous notes. So
I love to be miscellaneous, EliteAri.
Okay, number one, there's one good directing shot in this, okay?
Only one.
Yep. And it's the one that's the poster of the Phantom Menace. But it's here in this movie, you have Padme and Anakin standing outside the hut on Tatooine, and you got Vader's shadow, and he's like, you got Padme's shadow as well, and they're like hugging or whatever. And it's like, whoa, it's so cool. Like Anakin's silhouette, because of the cape he has and the way his hair looks, is like projecting a shadow of Vader onto the hut.
No, this didn't happen.
Oh, it's so cool. Wait. Anakin, Padme, silhouette.
Darth Vader just wanted his girlfriend, EliteAri. Why do you have to choke her?
I just saw it. It's this scene. It's like a whole scene and everything. Like she comes out and they're standing.
Well, I want to see the actual image.
Oh my god, it's impossible. I can't find it.
Bring up your Disney Plus thing.
Yeah, I mean this is the poster. It's basically something like this, but it looks more realistic because he's older at the time. But
you're reading this isn't even real. If I tried to bring this up in something else, you would say I don't buy it.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone else directed this and it wasn't George Lucas that particular.
Why do you shit on the great George Lucas?
Because I don't know if I've ever seen him do something interesting directing wise, but that was an interesting one.
So EliteAri, in this Colosseum fight, a bunch of Jedi come out and start swinging swords, and every time I've ever seen this in a video, it's always somebody laughing at how lame it is. Your thoughts?
Oh my god, it's so cool. There's so many lightsabers. That's my thoughts.
They died really easy, huh? A bunch of them suck.
Yep. But it was so cool because there were so many lightsabers. And
I don't know, it was okay.
So cool.
I like the, I don't know, this whole bit at the end was kind of cool. There's Cat Dooku saying, "Put down your weapons, Mace Windu, and I'll let you leave," or something. You know what's really stupid, EliteAri? That this idiot Mace Windu killed Jango Fett instead of the great Obi-Wan.
True.
Well, Mace Windu feels forced into everything, huh? What's the point of this idiot?
No, because he is the example of...
He is the Samuel L. Jackson.
No, he is the example of the egotistical Jedi who thinks he's best. Yeah.
No, he does know best, and then he immediately takes action on that piece of shit Emperor and would have got him if it wasn't for those that little Anakin. So the great Mace Windu is great. Yoda's the problem here.
No. But my one miscellaneous note is, oh my god, the purple lightsaber is so cool.
Is it?
It is. It is really cool.
The story about this cool, where he's like, okay.
The story isn't cool. The story is boring.
I'll give you anything you want. Sam, you're the greatest actor of all time. You would grace my shitty Star Wars. That's great.
It's so cool because it just shows up out of nowhere, and you're like, wow, what is it? You can have a purple.
Well, I guess this is like the defining thing I know about the
Yeah.
prequels is that Samuel L. Jackson asked for a purple lightsaber.
The second thing is like when you're watching in the story as a kid and you're in the behind the scenes stuff, it's like, whoa, what does this mean? Why does he have a purple lightsaber? Why is he like so special?
Some of them have blue ones, some of them have green ones. Doesn't mean a goddamn thing.
Those are two colors, and there's some red ones. You forgot that, but there is a purple.
That means
and what does blue and red make when you got them together?
I don't know.
Purples. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? He's like light and dark. Oh my god.
He's in the middle.
Yeah,
but he's not a goal.
Yeah, no, but he is a primary antagonist in my mind. I don't like Mace Windu.
He's great. I love the great Mace Windu.
Yeah. And now my final note, miscellaneous note, is the Star Wars have begun at the end of this movie. There was a war.
He didn't say Clone Wars.
Yeah. No, he says begun, the Clone War has, or something.
Oh.
I think it's Yoda who says that. But yeah, the wars have actually started.
Yoda is cool when he's like on a ship surrounded by, first of all, him with stormtroopers is pretty epic. Yeah.
Clone troopers.
What's going on over there? So there's a difference. I did want to ask you about this at some point. So is everybody Jango Fett in those great movies that I like?
Which ones do you like?
4 through 6.
It depends on, you can have your own reading, but in the extended canon and other canon stuff, no, they're not. They're just like people enlisted by the Empire, so they have more control and stuff like that.
They do look a little different.
Because they're like basically, they're not hostages, but if the Empire goes and recruits from planets, hey, Yurgo, stop. Yeah, they have to recruit from planets because then they have like hostages if they need to, right? Like they get more control over the system.
Do you think some of them were from Alderaan when they blew up Alderaan?
Maybe, yeah, probably.
Very sad.
But the Empire isn't everywhere, I guess, in the original trilogy, but it's most places. But
It's not on
it's barely on
Wookiee
Tatooine.
place.
Kashyyyk, yeah.
It probably was.
Yeah. Actually, it absolutely is, because there's like the whole enslavement of the Wookiees and stuff in Solo, which we'll get to, I guess. But
Now that's upsetting. I don't want to hear about enslaving Wookiees. The great Ewoks, though, they resisted them. Though they did have a whole thing on that, so
yeah. So in conclusion, in canon, the clone troopers are very different.
maybe instead of using the shitty Jango Fett or hostages, if they'd used the great Ewoks for their army, they would have won in the end.
Now there is it is kind of cool in a plot sense that the Jedi at the end of this movie, and Yoda specifically, I guess, is forced to use this armor that they have no idea where it came from.
Sure.
But they're forced to because it's like it helps us in every regard. Like even though if we don't understand it, we have to use it. I like it. It's cool. And obviously it's Palpatine exerting control here again on both sides.
Yeah. I don't know. Yoda's like the best general of all time. He always knows what to say. It's kind of cool.
Yep. Yeah, it is cool. And him coming at the end to be like, I'm here to save you all. And yeah, it's cool. Around the survivors, a perimeter create. That's what he says, you know. I'm like, wow, it's so cool. And I remember, I don't know if it's Red Letter Media or CinemaSins, someone criticized that. They're like, this is a vital moment. How could he speak in the reverse way at this point and confuses them? And I'm like, really? Like, he gets it out in 2 seconds. I'm sure he understood. Anyway.
He's ESL leader. Leave him alone.
Okay, so any other Attack of the Clones notes before we enter the Sith?
I love Attack of the Clones. It's my favorite move.
So do I. It's a 5 out of 5. I love it. Okay, now we have the movie that I'm sure everyone is expecting us or looking forward to us talking about, Revenge of the Sith.
We already talked about it.
We've briefly talked about it. There's a lot that happens in this movie.
Oh, yikes. We're going to go on forever. My first note here, EliteAri, is eyes like glazing over with the motion and CGI at the beginning. It was a little weird, EliteAri. I couldn't tell if I was tired, if my eyes were bugging up, if maybe it was my screen, or maybe CGI does suck. Does a lot as well.
I think you're talking about because the opening scene in this movie is a space scene.
They're in the space.
Flying everywhere, yeah.
And
Firstly, it's definitely not the CGI being bad, because it does look very good. It could be a bit of like...
Well, the CGI doesn't look bad, but they didn't understand that if you move too much stuff, it'll make the audience nauseous.
CGI is terrible, EliteAri.
Yeah, so you were disoriented and nauseated by the scene like an old man.
Return to tradition.
Yeah.
That's what they always say.
So is it the best Star Wars movie? What do you think?
No.
Is it the most
That's
engaging Star Wars
better
movie?
than No.
Is that the best fights in all the Star
A
Wars
New
movies?
Hope is better than this one? No, the fights were boring.
You think A New Hope is better than this?
Of course. It's got 4 stars. This one has 3.5 stars. That one's like good.
Okay. Well, that's a very interesting thing. Obviously, for me, this is probably the best Star Wars movie. I don't know. I like Attack of the Clones.
And he loves The Last Jedi. That's going to be my favorite.
Yeah, we'll see. You know what's better than this movie? The novelization of this movie, which is a million times better. But yeah, and also that novelization, which is not canon anymore, but it unambiguously portrays Dooku as a very strong racist. So he is definitely a bad person in this.
Towards who?
Toward the aliens in this. Anything that isn't human.
Me too, brother.
He's a human supremacist in this book. But yeah, anyway, it's a really good book, so I recommend that to anyone.
So why is it good?
Because it fleshes out basically any criticism of the plot you could have in this movie is like answered in the book, obviously.
I've just got so much criticism of the plot here.
Yeah, so that's most people's primary criticism is things like Anakin's like quick ascent to like a Vader or whatever. Stuff like that, like plot things and Anakin's character.
And then a plot thing, yeah.
Well, it depends on if you treat like pacing as plot or character, I guess. But yeah.
Does it fix his whiny attitude and his annoying voice?
Yeah. The primary thing it does is add an element of Anakin is obviously having dreams in this, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, what it does is add to his it adds insomnia to his character, where his inability to sleep is what leads to his poor decision making, because it's bothering him so much that he.
Another thing that wasn't explicit is they're not directly saying that the Emperor is giving him these dreams, but he obviously is.
Maybe. I have no idea.
Because obviously he's given him false visions, so he'll want to save Padme, so he'll save Padme. Padme obviously wasn't going to die in childbirth. What, he's stupid?
Yeah,
the future is difficult. See must, Yoda says.
Mm-hmm.
So Anakin doesn't know.
Okay. Excellent. So yeah, the book's really good, basically.
It is.
Before we get off the book there, the one thing it also does, the actual appeal of it, I guess, besides the plot stuff, firstly, it's got like point of view chapters and stuff, which are really cool, like the Dooku point of view stuff.
Cool.
And it also has really good writing, like actual writing. Like it has a consistent metaphor of like a dying star that Anakin sees at the beginning, and it kind of haunts him in his life, and he's like, my life is gonna eventually everything is gonna end, and I'm gonna be like that dying star if I don't ascend to become like greatness or whatever. And he also has like there is a metaphor of like he has like a dragon inside him that is oh, not like a dragon. It's like the furnace heart or whatever, and it's like hinting at Vader before it happens. And in the end, it's like there is like a light inside him, but a lone candle can get rid of the darkness, and love is the candle that lights the stars. It's like really well written, basically. There's like metaphors and stuff. It's surprisingly for a Star Wars book, I guess. It's really well written.
Did you read the other two novelizations?
I don't know if are there. I don't actually know. If there are, then no, I didn't. But I don't know if there are.
You just don't understand these books, is what I'm.
Yeah, they're written by different people, which is.
Do you think they had POV chapters because the recently come out, the Great Storm of Swords had come out, and they were like, "Man, his George R. R. Martin's just so good, we got to copy him."
It's not impossible. I have no idea.
Probably not. Nobody knew those books, you know?
Yeah.
Till the great HBO television.
Yeah. So in this one, there is more Anakin and Obi-Wan stuff. Like in the beginning, the whole first act of this is them working out together. Yeah. Like them.
They do this ship thing, and then what they'll do.
That's like the whole thing. But it's like a really...
It's just them fighting together.
For a long time.
Oh, they work on
problems
or
and stuff.
something.
Saving...
Oh, yeah, I remember thinking this was going on for a little while.
Yeah, this is a long scene. It has the whole setup with them in space, and they're like dynamic, like talking in space, right? And then you have the stuff in the ship trying to get to Palpatine. Then you have the stuff in the fight. And then you have the stuff after where they're trying to escape.
They are trying to escape with him for a while.
Yeah, then they have the stuff on Coruscant where they're like talking in the ship about like politicians or whatever, and you've got the limelight or whatever. And there's a stuff all the way at the beginning it is packed with their relationship basically. And I think it does it very well. And it portrays them differently. In the previous movie, it was portrayed as more master apprentice. This is more like they're equals kind of in a way.
Brothers. But then
Anakin
says father and son or something.
Yeah.
A contradiction.
Yep. Yeah, then we have, I don't know, the next thing I have is specifically on killing Dooku, which is
disgusting.
Yeah, but a very clear parallel to Return of the Jedi, right? It's the very similar scene. Palpatine is in the chair, he turns around. It's explicit parallel. But also it's like a parallel of like, this was when Vader sided with Palpatine, and at the end it's when he turns against him. So it's like a parallel in that regard. Or as people say, it's like poetry, it rhymes, you know?
George is a demon.
Thing. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know, cool. I like the thing he chops off his arms, and for a moment Dooku's like, what the, he like freaks out, and it's like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened. Yeah.
But you can get new arms, everybody calm down. Yeah, exactly. You can't get a new head EliteAri unless you're a great C-3PO.
Yeah, now if you've read the novelization, he might actually think, this is terrible, my arms are gone. I can't get robotic arms because I'm racist against robots. That'll make me like less human.
Crazy. What an evil guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a note on this. It says, always abrupt with the endings of fights, because remember, which one was I complaining about? Oh, Qui-Gon getting stabbed out of nowhere. I guess I thought the same thing here.
Yep.
Abruptness is a feature of Star Wars, not a bug. Oh my goodness. Poor Count Dooku was thrown out with an exclamation mark.
True, he was discarded.
And then I have sloppiness in Palpatine just being outly evil now with that Anakin. But I guess Obi-Wan was knocked out, so it doesn't matter. It is funny that he just tells him eventually. I thought that was cool.
Yep. But yeah, in this scene, he's like, just leave him. There's no time. We won't make it if we save him. So he's talking about Obi-Wan.
The great Obi-Wan.
Yeah, exactly. He's trying to use this opportunity here.
And he's encouraging him to kill this enemy general, even though he's pacified.
Yes, very true. Yeah, so now then after this is basically they're going along with Palpatine, which is a very interesting situation for him to be in, where he is kind of powerless in a way. This crashing ship, and is like, he's kind of, it's funny. It's an interesting, funny dynamic to have him there. Yep, they land a crashing ship, and it's another happy landing, which is like a meme. Obviously, every line in this movie is a meme at this point, but yeah. Then we get introduced to Anakin's dream, which is a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like if he never believed in the dream was going to happen, he wouldn't have taken the actions to stop it. Let's go again. It was like a destiny thing. But I never.
This is like one of the. I don't know. I don't like any of this stuff at all.
Yeah, I don't like this in any story. Usually, the destiny stuff, unless it like.
Well, the destiny. It would be. I think maybe I would like it more if they just said the Emperor did it.
True,
but I guess I believe that anyway. So why do I still not like it, EliteAri? Am I a big liar over here?
Maybe.
I guess it's just, why would you believe your dreams? But people probably do.
Because his mum, he had a dream about his mum, and his mum died.
That is true.
Yeah, that's the parallel here.
But when he talks about it with Padme, it's always like, she's just like, but I won't die. And he's like, okay, but yeah, you will, or something. It's like, couldn't you like take steps or something? Couldn't you just like abort the kid?
Well,
force abort it. It's not that.
That was he want the kid.
Well, you can't have it, Padme. But she does indicate at some point that she's like, and this is like the scariest thing if you're in a guy position, I would imagine, where she's like, oh, who cares if I die? Like, the kid has to survive. That's not good, EliteAri. Fuck these kids. You need the wife.
Yeah, I don't remember this, but okay.
I think she has this line where she's like, yeah. She doesn't say it explicitly. It's something to that effect, though.
Yep.
Is the baby all right? or something.
Yep. Any notes you want to
They
talk
kissed
about?
in public, and Kind of Funny was very mad about this, and I imagine Red Letter Media would be too. You know, you're supposed to be in a secret relationship and you're kissing in public behind a pillar.
How could they?
Unbelievable. Unbelievably stupid, these characters. And when characters are stupid, EliteAri, you just can't get invested in their story.
I think they were just not stupid, but reckless. And I think you can get invested.
Who cares
in
if they're
characters.
stupid?
I care because we don't like stupid characters. We hate.
I love stupid
But
characters.
we love reckless.
All my favorite thing is filled with stupid characters.
Yep.
I think his gut that he is smart.
Yep. Any other notes on Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah, I got 1 million, but my next one is a little sudden with the turn in Order 66, and I don't think we're
Okay. So the next one is the Jedi.
I have a comment. That senator guy, he was in like all the movies, and I only started noticing in this one, and then at some point I realized he was going to be Leia's daddy, and then that was funny. It paid off in the end.
True.
Was he in all of them?
I think so.
He's just like in the Senate or something, huh? That was cool. He was just like this random guy you vaguely knew, and I feel like I get this feeling in stories, but it's weird in Star Wars because I feel like I should have known that this guy was the guy just from osmosis, but I didn't. But you know, there's always a story where, there's this guy that's been in the background the whole time. You can't exactly remember when he showed up, but he's been around for a little while, and now there's like only like 3 characters left, and he's one of them at the end. It's like, this is crazy.
Yep.
He's starting the rebellion. And the rebellion ship looks like a rebellion ship. It was like,
Because it is a rebellion.
This is soy. I'm soying out right now. This is great. It looks like the great original trilogy rather than this nonsense prequel garbage.
So the Jedi get Anakin to spy on the Chancellor. Kind of crazy, isn't it? Because like they're doing deceptive things.
Yeah.
No, but like they're
Jedi shouldn't be
it
doing
is
such
them
things.
breaking their code is what leads to their ruin. You know, if they didn't make Anakin do this, then what would have happened? So
A lot
they
of consequences for
Yeah, exactly.
breaking their code. So the code is good and should be upheld.
Exactly.
That's the theme.
No, this is an additional theme, which is that if you have a code, you should stick with it. Okay.
Yes.
It's nothing about the Jedi.
Forming your ideas, very bad.
Yeah, we got to be rigid. Okay. Now I have a criticism, but this is a great movie, the greatest Star Wars movie, except for Attack of the Clones. Some of the love dialogue in this movie is a bit weak, is what I wrote.
Right, reading
Which we did talk about this. I don't have a single thing written down, but it's mainly the scene I'm thinking of, and I think we did talk about this right at the beginning. But we're talking about Padme's dialogue specifically in the love scenes. Where
No, I was defending it. You said it was bad.
no, it's where they're outside on the balcony after the first dream, and Anakin is talking. Yeah, Anakin is like, I can't imagine life without you, or whatever. And Padme's like, so your love has blinded you, or something.
That was funny. I do remember.
But that probably isn't even it, because that's kind of like, I get it. Like,
That's
it's kind
kinda
of
cool.
funny or whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's some line there in that scene where I'm like, this is not good.
There's
Yeah.
I don't remember. It really is.
Oh, only because I'm so in love, or something like that. I think she said something like that.
Anytime when she's indicating any love towards this idiot, it's going to be bad because I don't buy it at all. It really does. Like, Padme really sucks in this movie. It's like she's like doing nothing. It's like the Historia thing, but I believe it for this one. Or she's just like pregnant and twirling her hair until at the end when she makes like a boring plea and then chokes and then loses her will to live. It's like, but this was supposed to be Princess Leia. What is this? And I was upset.
Yes, obviously I don't agree with that. I don't agree that Padme is meant to be Princess Leia.
She's a great princess.
Yeah, but I do agree with like
Her mother, EliteAri.
Yeah, I don't find her interesting in this movie. Yeah, I don't know.
She was my favorite, and they just put her aside
Yep.
for a little boring cuck boy that's not interesting at all and is annoying and is ruining Darth Vader as we speak.
Yep. So now the next thing I have is about Palpatine.
Remember when he put the helmet on and he immediately has the other voice? That was really funny.
What did you expect?
I was like, I don't know, maybe it's a little Weasley and the degradation. I don't know. I guess it makes sense. His throat was damaged, but it's just like this feels like a completely different character now. But I mean, that's been my biggest criticism of the whole thing, right? That none of it lines up.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But Palpatine is the next thing I have.
Well, when the voice does say Padme, that was kind of cool, you know.
We knew Padme.
The great Darth Vader knew about Padme.
Yeah, that is true. A little bit of continuity. That's great. What do you think of the Plagueis speech?
It's not cool because of continuity. It's cool because we're holding up the great Padme, even though she sucked in this movie.
What do you think of the Plagueis speech with Palpatine in the opera talking about
Killing his lie, and we saw that guy in Acolyte for one shot. That's all I thought about.
Okay, so
And I like this Naruto, like sensei of that sensei is this sensei, and we can track it back 17 family trees. So I guess it's kind of cool in that way.
Okay, I guess from my perspective, I like the scene because of the. This is one time where it seems we see the true Palpatine, like we see him truly. where he's reminiscing about the past, talking about how like, and his apprentice killed him in his sleep, and is clearly like emotionally thinking back to it. And there's no deception here. It's just the way he is. I like that.
And he didn't foresee that his own apprentice would kill him.
True.
Except not because he's back at the episode 9.
Yes, maybe.
These sequels really suck, huh?
I like the sequels a lot.
He
Now,
doesn't.
the other interesting thing, which we talked about a little bit, you mentioned, the Palpatine trying to convince Anakin scene, where he like comes out to him straight. And
It's a great scene.
Yeah, it is. And he's like, in order to understand the Force, you have to understand all aspects, not the limited view of the Jedi or whatever. And it's like, kind of convincing. I get it. Like you don't want to be dogmatic like the Jedi. You want to understand everything so you can have a proper perspective when you go in to choose things. It's cool. Yeah.
This is another, I guess I'm jumping ahead. So why doesn't Vader kill the Emperor immediately after he doesn't save Padme? The Emperor tells him that
together we can work together. Oh, you mean at the end?
Yeah.
Because it seems in your anger you killed her.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
And then he says, no, she was alive. I felt it. And
He does do the literal no from the special editions.
Well, this was where it was seeded, right? I think.
Well, no, the special editions came out in 1997, right?
So the no was... okay. There has to be no chance that the no was added before this. I'm like 100% sure this no was first.
I don't know. We could look it up.
So it must be like a Blu-ray edition or something, I imagine.
It's on one of them.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this no had to come first. If it doesn't, please leave it in the comments because you will shatter my worldview of Star Wars if that's the case. But yeah.
He had it all planned out. He had it all scripted. He knew he didn't put a no there.
No.
And so he put it in 1997.
Absolutely not. The one final Palpatine note I have specifically is the greatest Palpatine scene in these entire movies, which is when he's fighting Mace Windu, which is a terrible fight, probably the worst fight in...
No, this is the greatest scene of all time.
Okay.
It makes Windu beat him. I was so excited.
And that's what I was going to say. That is the cool thing where he knocks Palpatine over, and for a second, Palpatine is freaking out. And he's like squirming back, and they're like, oh my god, Palpatine could die here. And he's like genuinely freaked out.
Oh my god, him freaking out and being a little bitch. I didn't like that either.
I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Palpatine, he's ruining everything. He's always ruined everything.
I love the moments where we see a genuine Palpatine. It's the one in the opera.
It doesn't feel genuine at all.
And it is a genuine moment here where he's panicking because Mace Windu beat him for a brief moment.
Have some stoicness, you loser.
Exactly. Palpatine.
EliteAri.
The charm of Palpatine is his lack of stoicness and his like hamminess and his like overacting, and that is the charm of Palpatine. And this is one of those things.
He is devoid of all charm.
He is not charming.
The line no was added to the Return of the Jedi Blu-ray edition of the film.
Okay, excellent. I thought so. Okay.
That's crazy. I thought he just edited him once, but he's editing him like every 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, it's great. Okay. So I guess we're not up to Order 66 yet, I don't think, so I have more to talk about. So this is a scene I like, and I'm curious what you think about it. There is a scene where it's a very silent scene, and you have Anakin and Padme, and they're standing in different buildings, and they're looking
at this is a very good scene.
Okay.
Even the kind of funny guys were jerking this scene off. They're looking at each other, but they're far away. It's definitely like something else I've seen is like nearly this exactly the thing. It's possible it came after this, because this is from 2005 and a big cultural milestone. But it's epic. It reminds Cool Music thing? No, because I'm thinking of Guts and Casket, but that would have been before this. And like Hack Kentari Mura's never done anything originally. He steals everything from the Great George. There was something else I was going to say. Why do you let me tell a shitty Berserk joke?
I don't know. The music's good in this thing. That's my whole thing. Music. Yep, it's so good.
The framing of the shots, that's cool.
Is the oxygen of Star Wars. That's what they say, okay? Okay, anyway, back to the Mace Windu thing, I guess. For some reason, I have a note on that. This ties into your theme, okay? So you probably care about this. Mace Windu in the end...
I don't care about themes. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, Mace Windu in the end compromises on his ideals and tries to kill Palpatine. What is that?
Of course he should have killed him. What's this mean?
Because as a Jedi, he shouldn't, because he's an unarmed man, right? Who is being, who he has complete control over here. And he is only killing him because of a potential threat he might have in the future because he controls the Senate.
Kill that bitch.
Yeah, so I don't know how this ties into your theme, but keep this in mind.
I didn't know the Jedi weren't supposed to kill people.
No, you're not meant to kill him.
I understand, yes.
Okay, whatever.
But there is obviously people that should be killed.
Yeah, but should this man be killed?
Yes, absolutely. Why? Like, individual ISIS members should probably be killed, and they're not running anything.
In the context of the Jedi, why should he be killed?
Because he's, it created 17 different wars and yeah,
but why does he have to be killed?
He's objectively evil.
Why not locked up forever in somewhere where no one...
Because he'll get out eventually.
Why?
It's too big of a risk.
The Jedi can control them, right? Like, why does he...
I don't know.
Yeah, but in Mace Windu's perspective here, I guess Mace Windu's is a corrupted perspective, but if Yoda was here, do you think he would kill him?
I guess that's not really the point, right?
Well, if the ideal Jedi was here, would he kill
If he's breaking Jedi code, I just don't know what the Jedi code is, so I don't know what you want me to say with this. But if you're asking me, should he ever have killed
No,
the
I
Emperor
think
here,
that's not what I'm asking.
he should have.
I'm not. I'm asking about if he was Jedi code. But if you don't know the thing, then that's okay.
The Jedi code, let me make it up, right?
Okay.
The, no girlfriends. Maybe some
Well,
boyfriends,
you know, unconditional love is like the essence of being a Jedi.
so you can have everyone as your girlfriend. This is epic.
That is true, yeah.
EliteAri, number one in the Jedi. What could possibly be another one? No possessions, right? Except for your clothes.
No attachments, yeah.
No, I feel like they say possessions outright. Like you're allowed to have a house.
Well, possessions are an extension of attachments, yeah. Like the
isn't everything
isn't everything what, a possession or an attachment?
an extension of
say-
attachment?
Yes. That would be the why possession is an extension
There
of
you
attachment.
go. I figured out the Jedi, whatever.
Okay.
I don't know what this has to do with killing people, but
Okay. Compassion is the root of a Jedi.
compassion. What the
Absolutely.
fuck does that mean?
True. Okay. Order 66, go ahead. What do you think about it? What's your
I said a little sudden with the turn in Order 66. Now the scenes are really cool when we're cutting everywhere and they're all getting killed, and it's sad, and every stormtrooper knows. It's like crazy, brother. How'd they keep it a secret? It's because they're clones, literally. The great Cody, as we said, turned on the great Obi-Wan. I didn't think we've talked about any of this, the greatest part of this movie, which is obviously all the Obi-Wan stuff. With the great General Grievous. He's on this cool green planet. He's got a lizard friend. That guy comes up to him immediately and is like, they hold on this hostage, you gotta get him. I was like, oh, this is epic. This is what you wish happened in every movie. And then he jumps down and he does a great pose where he's just gonna beat everybody up in the middle of all the bad guys. Yeah. He's just so suave. At one point he kicks the metal guy and his foot gets hurt. It's just the greatest.
Basic level blaster is like, how uncivilized.
He just true. That was a great line. He's doesn't he say that to the shitty Han Solo?
Probably, yeah.
Everything. This was the coolest part. He was a one-man army. He felt like he was jumping around everywhere, winning constantly. You know me, I love winners. EliteAri.
Yep.
The great Obi-Wan never lost, and when he did lose, he lost on purpose.
True.
So this was the best part of the movie.
Okay. I
was green.
liked it a lot.
Oh, the Wookiee planet was cool too. Not really the Wookiees. And you weren't there for a while, but it was green and had a beach.
I think another cool thing about the Obi-Wan thing is that you're constantly hearing about it in the background, where they're like, oh, Obi-Wan has engaged General Grievous in combat, the war will be over soon. And later you hear like, oh, Obi-Wan has bested him in combat and the thing will be over. Like, oh, like all the information's getting out there. Oh my God.
So what, Obi-Wan goes because Anakin isn't allowed to go, but what's he going to do just to find Grievous? Because Grievous always runs away.
Yeah.
Also, Grievous is sick.
He's coughing because of Mace. It's like I don't know. It depends on the canon, but in the old canon, it used to be that Mace crushed his chest or something, and now he.
That's right. He had like flesh in there.
Yeah, he apparently, as far as I understand, he's like a human or humanoid or whatever, and he just has robotic things attached to him to make him stronger. But that's in non-canon these days. So
I thought he was just the ultimate droid that he made, and that's cool. No, his fleshy stuff was like mysterious, so that was cool too.
Yeah,
it's like an Evangelion.
And he looks really good, like CGI wise. Like it is impressive for 2005.
Yeah, he looks fine.
Yeah. Now more about the Order 66 thing. What is
Mundi got killed, EliteAri.
Mundi, true.
Go on.
He got shot in the back.
He was on a bridge.
Yeah, it's so sad.
There was a little lady in a forest on a weird looking planet.
Sakura, who I think Aaron named his daughter after, but yeah.
That's epic. You love that great character. She looks like Ahsoka, of course.
No, absolutely.
Just like that one girl in Jabba's palace.
There is a deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith that has someone from Ahsoka's species, Jedi Master Shakti. So if you want to Google her,
I just said there was this girl.
No, not Ayla Sakura. They're completely different people. They look nothing alike.
I think they all look the
One
same.
is blue. Ahsoka's not blue. One has different hair.
Count Dooku told me they're all the same.
That is true. That he did say it in the book. But I'm curious because this is a big thing that's discussed in the wider.
Mace Windu is still alive, by the way. They threw him out just like Thingy, so he can come back in the new movie.
That is what Star Wars Theory says. That is, and he has a fan film about it. But yeah, so
Samuel L. Jackson's still old now here.
Yeah, but he still plays Nick Fury sometimes, so it's okay. You can do it.
But Nick Fury's like fat now.
Order 66. People
Truly epic.
People are just always so curious. What do you think? What happened? Why did the people they just turned on them? What happened? How did that happen?
Because they were programmed in their little AI creation chambers to know that Order 66 means kill those Jedi.
Okay, that's an interesting.
What else could it possibly mean?
I don't know. That's an interesting take.
What?
The canon
be interesting.
The canon thing is that it's pretty much what you said, where they have a chip in their brain and that chip activates at some point. Okay, so before that, they're like just normal. They're on their side and everything. Yeah, I don't like This is one thing in the Clone Wars I don't like. I never liked the chip. I liked it more.
I liked that the great Cody was misleading him the whole time. That was heartbreaking.
I like my interpretation, because I disregard the canon of the Clone Wars. I don't care about that. Is that they are purely like acting neutrally at the beginning, where it's like they don't even think about this betrayal that they're eventually going to do, and they're just serving the Jedi because that's what they're doing. And then eventually, when
they're not really. They serve the Senate, right? And the Jedi's just got power on the Senate or whatever.
They're just doing their thing, whatever, helping the Jedi and they're friends with them, whatever. But as soon as they get that like message from Sidious, they're like, okay, now we do what we're going to do.
Why did it take Palpatine 20 years to actually get rid of the Senate when he has basically done it at the end of this?
Because he needs control over the systems, which is the whole point of the Death Star, right?
True to threaten him.
Exactly. And he needs to build out like because the galaxy.
Why did the Death Star take 20 years to make when they remade another one in that one movie?
Because they learned so much in the process of making it that it was yeah.
Who is Grand Moff Tarkin? Where did he come from? We'll never know.
Well, the Clone Wars, he has a whole arc and multiple arcs. True. He's also in Rebels.
Why wouldn't they have put him in it?
He isn't it.
Why isn't he a big character in this?
Why would he be?
Because he's like one of 7 characters in the original.
He has like 3 scenes in the first movie.
But
and he has awards from him in this movie. This increased his amount of scenes by like 25% just by having one.
No, he's a named guy. He's like the whole guy. He's above Darth Vader. You should have said he's Emperor Palpatine's nephew or something.
Well, I know the answer, so it's not
brother to Rey.
Yeah. It is funny because Grand Moff Tarkin was on the side of the the Republic in the Clone Wars, right? Like he is on the side of Obi-Wan and the Jedi and all that. So he's fighting on their side, and then eventually he turns. And,
do they respect him too?
I guess he doesn't turn because the Empire is coming from the Republic, so it's like he just stays in the same.
It's just incidental. He didn't seem incidental in the original trilogy. He's just like practically all the time, and he's not too evil, unlike the shitty Count Dooku who they ruined.
True.
He did blow up that whole thing, huh? That was for practical reasons, EliteAri.
Indeed. Okay, next thing.
The beginnings of the rebellion soy even looks right soy. Padme sucks in this movie. Is this main Senator Leia's father? True, it was.
True, Bail
he's got a wife and they're going to adopt.
We've always wanted a daughter.
And and Leia just grew up with them and didn't care when they died. That's true. They just died. That's another thing where if you were watching in like a chronological order, you'd be so sad there was no follow-up with these people.
And then you'd watch the Clone Wars and be like, I'm just so satisfied. There's so much follow-up. Oh my god.
No. But then you would... No, I guess that would fix that part.
And Rebels.
Nobody cares about either of these shitty cartoons. The beginnings of the rebellion... I already read that one, EliteAri. Does Vader ever mention the mother in the original trilogy? I already asked you that. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. Is this the first time? Is that the first time anybody's ever said this in anything? Because I feel like this is a Star Wars thing that I assumed was in every movie, but I guess it's only in this one.
Yeah, it's the first time it's said.
You're breaking shit, EliteAri? What's happening?
No, just kick the bin. This is the Star Wars thing. Yeah.
So you're saying that a Star Wars thing that people consider a Star Wars thing came from a prequel movie? I don't believe you.
Yep. I mean, people usually make fun of it, but
it is like kind of stupid if you think about it for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Because Yoda definitely says absolute things constantly.
I mean, everyone says it all the time.
That leads to anger. Anger leads to something. Not definitively Yoda.
Yep.
You little pussy.
True. So this Anakin Padme Obi-Wan scene that we're talking about here, it is, in all of fiction, it is the scene I've probably seen the most. I quote it all the time, like I can recite the whole thing.
What's the line?
I will do what I must.
Who says that?
Obi-Wan. And then Anakin says, you will try. It's like, okay.
The great Anakin.
It's a great scene. I love it. I love it so much. I don't know if it's
the greatest scene is obviously...
It's a fact in my mind. It's just a scene I've seen so many times.
Sure.
I just can't even, I don't know.
You know what's way better than this, and the one you've skipped over is obviously the Great Yoda fight, or are we getting to it?
I mean, that fight and the fight they're cutting, they're cut together.
The funniest thing of all time, EliteAri, is Yoda comes in the room and he forces those red guys, and they're done. And these red guys have never done anything in anything.
Yep, absolutely. It's pretty great.
Until Kylo Ren gets them.
Oh, yeah, maybe, yeah, we'll see.
Seeing the trailer show, they're all fighting.
Sure.
Do you think Luke's there fighting with the Great Rey?
Would people be happy with that?
Yeah.
Well, but they weren't happy with
I'm pretty sure the Great Kylo Ren kills him at the end, and you can't be happy about that. Kylo Ren's a little cup fanboy. Just like them. They see themselves in Kylo Ren. That's why they hate him.
Well, there's an entire element of this movie we just haven't touched on at all. I'm really surprised you haven't brought it up.
I just don't remember.
It's the implication that from Anakin's perspective, Padme and Obi-Wan are cheating. Like they're together.
Yeah, I guess it was like, I don't know if I thought it was
Like, it is part of Anakin's paranoia in this final scene, where it's like, you're with him.
he's the toxic boy.
You brought him here to kill me.
There is
Yeah.
the scene where Obi-Wan goes to her, and she does the classic dumb girl. I don't believe.
Well, she's lying in
I
that
think
scene, but yeah, like,
Oh, that is right. The kind of funny guys explain that to me.
you were saying the Padme, Anakin, Obi-Wan
The
line.
team thing. There's a line because when Obi-Wan was like in the room with her and they got like close, I was like,
Yeah.
hold on a second. Suddenly Padme is going to be great if she's kissing the great Obi-Wan. This is what the whole movie should have been about. What a great love story it would have been. Imagine if he was delivering all those lines in his sweet little voice. Oh my God, Padme would be in love.
Yep.
Now we've got a problematic age difference the other way.
Yeah. There's a big Asian.
So that's cute if it plays into that because I was like, oh,
It definitely,
Come on,
that is a
do
big
it.
element of this movie, I think. I mean, it's seeded initially as well. When Anakin first tells Padme the dream about his having dying, and Padme's immediate thing is like, oh, we should go to Obi-Wan for help. He can help us. And
Obi-Wan doesn't understand. He's
exactly.
a pussy.
but yeah, that is a whole element in this movie that I think is interesting.
And it's why he's doing his great pose here.
Yeah.
This one.
And this is, of course, expanded in the novelization. There's a lot of stuff on this, I'm sure.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I could smell him on her breath.
Perhaps,
It's not
yeah.
good.
So yeah,
Anakin just chokes her, right? Why?
he does. Because firstly, he thinks she's cheating on him. Secondly,
You just assume that.
Secondly, he feels like everyone in his life is betraying him now. Like he is all alone.
Oh, we skipped over to killing the kids earlier. What are you doing here?
I mean, true. He takes his army of clone troopers and he...
There's also
Jedi
kill
Temple.
things. Yes, yeah, whatever. Who cares? He killed the kids. Hilarious.
Also, what have I done? After he kills, like, Sidious, he has, like, kills Mace. He has a
gonna
moment
do?
of, like, hesitation. It's like, oh, shit, what have I done?
Then he's gonna let's go real quick.
yeah. Well, the novelization is so good. Because in the end, like, I have to say this. It's like, there's a metaphor of, like, Sidious being the shadow. And it all ties in with the light and the love and all that.
Nosferatu, the shadow?
Kind of, in a way. But there is like a whole metaphor in the book about like light being important and the shadows being not like being dangerous or whatever. But in the end, like when he wakes up as Vader at the end, he's like, I'm all alone, whatever the shadow is in front of me and I can reach out and kill it. But if the shadow is all I have left and there's nothing but the shadow. Yeah, and it's like, he has to keep siding with Palpatine because there's no one else left in his life that he
Really
loved
loved
before.
the great
Vader.
Palpatine. Though he was trying to turn on him in that Empire Strikes Back.
They're true in like 15 years.
Because he had something else, literally.
Yeah,
Which he was about to reveal. That he is the father.
perhaps, yeah.
That's sad.
Well, there is like a theory. Yeah, Palpatine is Anakin's father, yeah.
No, this is what he's Rey's father. We just want to. I wonder if that's true. I wonder if Luke gets killed by. I just can't wait to find out. I know Princess Leia gets killed or something too, because that lady died from the cocaine. Remember? A cooler scene is also, we haven't talked about this at all, the great Jedi library, EliteAri, and Anakin's got to go in there and look up things and can't find this system doesn't work. It doesn't exist. This is in the second one. Yeah. And then at the end, he's got to like figure out how to do this computer to send away a signal or something. And him and Yoda, there's moments where him and Yoda are just sad that everybody's dead. And he's like, only Obi-Wan is safe or something, Yoda says. And it's like, oh, these two, they don't have many scenes.
Yep.
That is all the coolest part, you know?
I agree.
Kind of like the shitty fight scene at the end that you like, apparently.
Yep. Okay.
Duel of Fates, EliteAri. What does it sound like?
Dun, 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 dun. That's not even it.
That sounds like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Cups Monsters Coliseum song, which probably would have definitely came out in 2003. So now I'm sad that they're copying shitty Star Wars.
Yep. Okay, I have notes after this. You were the chosen one. It was said you would destroy the Sith, not join them. That whole speech.
It's okay. I don't know. It's like in the guns. I've heard it before.
It probably has to be the best performed scene in this, like the most genuine feeling, I guess. But all the Ewan McGregor scenes are really well done, I guess. Yeah, it's good. I do like the violence in this, where he like is clearly his arms are gone, he's burning, he is like it is gruesome.
He's on fire.
Yeah, and the way he like is
and he's like
yelling,
falling into.
like, I hate you, or whatever. Like the way he delivers it is really good.
The great Palpatine is so concerned. He runs up to him.
Yeah,
and then he says, "Get a Goku pod," or whatever he says. Mm-hmm. That's what he was in, right? He was in the pod like Goku was.
Maybe
on the great planet Namek. He said he calls it a pod, EliteAri. I'm not making things up here.
Perhaps, yeah.
And
his one arm is alive. He's like grabbing the gravel and like slowly pulling up away from the lava.
So you're telling me you don't remember the healing pod or the healing chamber?
Well, there is no healing pod in this movie. I don't think there is in the original.
Put him in one.
I don't remember. I don't know.
Now, Oh, Han is in one. And it literally looks like
Well,
the
Luke
Goku
is in
thing.
one. Yeah.
No, it is Luke at the beginning of the second one.
Yeah.
It's literally the Goku thing. I was making jokes.
And it is in Rogue One as well.
We hate Rogue One.
yeah.
Who's in it in Rogue One?
Do you want to know? Because we'll see. We'll have to
Darth
find it
Vader?
out. We'll have to see.
I've seen the shitty movie.
Yeah, it was Darth Vader, yeah.
Okay, that's funny. He has to go in it every once in a while, huh? What was I saying?
I think I was saying stuff.
No, you never say anything. It was something. No, I got through my Yoda and Obi-Wan point, right?
Yep.
It was cool fighting. Oh, I was saying how much the great Emperor just cared about Anakin. He was so concerned, and when he wakes up, he's like doing this or something, and he's just like, oh, "Are you okay?" Or something like that.
Yep.
It's weird. Emperor sucks.
True, but the Emperor's amazing. Okay, then I guess if we're going forward more, there is the parallel of Vader is turning into Vader, and then Padme is dying, and it's like the funeral. You got the two things that are being paralleled. Pretty cool.
There was a music track there. I can't remember what it was, but I noted it.
Probably some sad music. I don't know.
No, I feel like it was like intercutting like Vader's old theme or something.
Maybe, yeah.
You know that one, right?
The Empire, yeah. I have one other note, final one, which is that we talked about this briefly, but this is a movie with the drawn-out ending. Like, it is the one Star Wars movie where it is like multiple endings, and everything gets like a wrap-up, and there's nothing unaddressed. And
Well, the wrap-up is everybody gets in position for a new hope to start.
yeah, but all the other movies just end with like the climax happens, and then 5 minutes
Oh,
later,
I understand what you're saying now, because I'm always like, oh, it ends really quickly. But even this one, like the last shot, you don't really realize it's the last shot until it like happens. Because it's a posing shot. It's like, oh,
Well, I firstly I disagree. I feel like it's pretty clear that it's going to be the final one.
so there's no way that there was a scene after that.
Yep.
Okay.
So
You're retarded.
yeah. Anyway, I have miscellaneous notes and questions. So any
I have one that says drama at the expense of sense, which was going to be like an overall like art analysis thing that I'm too tired to do. So we'll do that some other day. There is no payoff. Obi-Wan and Vader fight in A New Hope is the payoff, question mark. We've already talked about this. Oh, the biggest point of all time, EliteAri. The great Jar Jar was never killed.
true? Yeah, it still has
He's
that.
going to be in the sequel movies. I can't wait.
Perhaps.
That actor will never come back. He's too
Well,
traumatized.
he has come back.
Oh,
Firstly,
in the
his voice
Clone Wars.
in Clone Wars, he did voice some character. Like every now and then, he would voice him. I think. And also, he's in the Mandalorian. As a completely different character, though. He's a Jedi.
Oh,
in that.
no one gives a fuck about that.
Well, the actor came back, so yeah.
Oh, so now he can play Jar Jar again, the real character that we all care about and love.
Yep.
There's not even a reference to the Great Jar Jar in any of these sequel movies or any of these TV shows.
We'll have to see.
Oh,
I mean, Jar Jar has entire episodes in the Clone Wars.
that one doesn't count. That's some shitty George Lucas show that we don't care about. We care about the modern Star Wars. The Acolyte doesn't have the Great Jar Jar in it.
I can't say anything. We'll have to see.
Well, I'm going to Google it right now.
Okay,
I'm
so
not even joking.
should I go through miscellaneous notes then? Number one, the Battlefront 2 game specifically does a masterful job of capturing the world in this.
I remember seeing footage of it because I loved the Great Star Wars Battlefront 1. And I remember noting, I don't know if I wrote this up, but those were all things from the original trilogy. It was the snow planet, the desert planet.
Yep.
That's
mainly it.
There was, I think that
It was
like,
Endor, I think.
Endor, yes,
Yeah.
of course. The best map was obviously the Endor one. I love that one. In the desert one, they had the little guy's ship
The little guy's ship.
on the Tatooine desert one. You know, the little guys that
Oh, yeah.
C-3PO.
Yes.
What are they called?
The Jawas.
The Jawas, my favorite alien race. The only one I'm not racist against. I love the Ewoks too. If they're little, I like them.
Okay.
What was I saying? Oh, and then the trailers came out for that other one. I'm like, what are these fights? I've never seen them before, but they looked cool. I think Naboo was in it, and I thought it looked.
It is. You got Naboo. You basically have everything. Kamino, everything.
Which one's Kamino?
The water planet. with the
Okay.
craters.
Is the city one?
Coruscant? No, because there's like you can't have an army there fighting. How would you fight there? It's ridiculous. So yeah.
This game sucks. I think we did buy that game at some point. Are we going to play it when I get back, EliteAri? You know, get into a lobby with me?
The issue is that it's so old that like not many people play it, so it's hard to find one.
There'll be enough.
I'm sure there will be. Okay, next miscellaneous note. there is a scene where they're fighting in the Senate, and then Yoda gets knocked away.
That guy
And there is a
is
great scene. Oh, sorry, a great sound effect when Yoda is like falling and his nail is scraping on the thing. I'm like, this is great because that's really bad, but the scraping sounded good, and I was like, this is like a perfect.
No, I was like his soul scraping thing. I feel like this was definitely in Monsters Inc. So they copied Monsters Inc.
Well, then Monsters Inc. did a good too, but it's a very rare balance to do. I think usually sometimes it's either true like bad and it sounds like it's grating or whatever.
They're falling through a door in Monsters Inc. and like he's holding on to the outside. Monsters Inc. is the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah, and my final miscellaneous note is that after I was watching this big Obi-Wan Vader fight, or Obi-Wan Anakin fight, it is really cool to go to the Obi-Wan final fight they have in the show, and see them when they're older, and like Vader is fighting like an older Obi-Wan here, and they're like the Obi-Wan
like in the Obi-Wan show.
Yeah, Obi-Wan
Wars show.
You know, this is in the Obi-Wan show. There's basically a fight scene at the end, and it's Vader, and an older Anakin, Obi-Wan, who sounds exactly like he does in this and looks like he does in this, just older. It's very good continuity. Like it feels like it's directly after this.
Because we like prequels now.
Now, I did not like that show at all, but that scene fits very well.
What was wrong with the great show? Princess Leia was in it. Can't be bad.
Yeah, everything is wrong with that show. One good thing about the show is the final fight, kind of.
The great Dylan McGregor probably was a great performance, EliteAri.
He didn't have much to go on, but yeah, it was okay, I guess.
I'm going to watch this show and love it. I'm not watching shitty Mandalorian or any of these other ones. The Acolyte, I want to watch that one too. So Obi-Wan and Acolyte.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have any notes? Because I just have a few questions.
I have one, which was just Palpatine keeps saying Vader will be the strongest, but he's way stronger than Vader, and so is Luke in the original trilogy.
He never reaches his potential.
Also, that's a good take, EliteAri. Mm-hmm. Also, why does Vader take orders from Tarkin when he's not even around? I already said all this, never mind.
Mm-hmm. Probably because his master tells him, you know.
He doesn't... There's no way Darth Vader actually ever believed that Palpatine was his master.
He does, yeah.
No, he's trying to undermine him at every turn.
Well, remember, the shadow is all he has left. There's nothing else in his life.
Why would that make him his master?
Because Palpatine has looked up.
He doesn't bow to him all the time, but he's playing him because he's going to turn on him with Luke at the end.
Yeah, I mean, unironically, Palpatine. It is a subtle thing in these movies, which is obviously expanded on a bit in the Clone Wars. But Palpatine has been a guiding force in his life.
They do say that,
like he is like the father he never had, basically. But we don't spend that much time in the prequels looking at it. One thing I think this movie definitely would have benefited from, this one specifically, the Revenge of the Sith, is just like. At the beginning of the movie, add some type of like have a compilation of scenes from the Clone Wars or something. Show the struggle that Anakin has like gone through, like to show how important it is that this war ends soon, and like to build up the relationship with Anakin and everyone. That would have
had no struggles. That's not what I thought. He was just winning.
Yeah, well, that's not what it's meant to be portrayed as. It's meant to be like we need this war to end, and Palpatine is making it end. We need him in power. Like it kind of adds to Anakin's desire to have Palpatine in power.
Clone Wars nonsense.
Yeah, so I just wish that the movie started more with that, I guess. But, you know, it's not a perfect movie, but it's a perfect movie. So, yeah.
3.5 stars for this one.
So now I have a few minor questions, which you've already answered some of them.
Of course.
Did Anakin fall into the Vader role too quickly?
He turned evil too quickly. He never became the great Darth Vader, not to me.
Okay. The next question then is, you've asked, okay, I guess thinking more broadly, what is your favorite fight across all the prequels then?
Fights are lame, but the Yoda Emperor one, because they threw the Senate pods at him, and that was cool.
Okay, the second last question here. Did Windu actually beat Palpatine, or was he playing?
He was beating the fuck. Oh, I see what you're saying here, EliteAri. But no, he was whining like a little pussy. Oh, you ruined it for me.
My take is that he did beat him, like, squarely, and that's why you get that moment. You get the moment of Palpatine freaking out when he's on the floor, because like, he wasn't meant to lose here. But yeah. Okay.
Mace Windu's the best.
Yeah, well then my last question is, who was winning between Yoda and Palpatine in that fight?
I talked about this in the first one. Yoda just had to go back next week. Why do you wait 20 years? Anyway. So the great Yoda was winning.
Yeah.
It is funny that I must have said this already, sorry. The two masters fighting, isn't that just what everybody wants to see?
Exactly. But with that, that's it. This is the prequels discussion.
It was 17 hours long.
It was pretty long.
I hate Star Wars.
You love it more than these people. 3.5.
The Force Awakens. Let's go.
I am excited. That is a very
so
good
excited. The Great Last Jedi. I finally get to see this movie after 20 years. Yeah. The Great Rise of Skywalker. Is Palpatine still the worst? The answer is yes.
We'll have to see.
Episode 10. When's it coming out, EliteAri?
Isn't it crazy that
there isn't done that yet?
It is coming. They've announced that there's going to be a sequel series with movies with Rey. So it is coming.
Oh, she doesn't die. This is crazy.
Yeah, well,
I love the Great Rey. Now, When are the Game of Thrones guys getting their trilogy?
I'm pretty sure that was cancelled because they got to deal with Netflix or something. But yeah. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Next Tuesday.